Okay, so welcome everyone. We still have people joining, but let's get started since we have a packed schedule for you today and we want to promptly end at 5 p.m. so that you can all go back to your busy lives. I'm sure everybody is busy. Good afternoon and welcome to the first first Maternal Mental Health Summit in India. Today is World Maternal Mental Health Day, and we have programs like this happening all over the world. And we are very honored and we're very proud to host the first one here in India. My name is Sonali, Dr. Sonali Mohanty Quantius, and I will be co-hosting this summit with Dr. Shraddha Lotlikar from Nimhans, who will be shortly introducing herself. So as I said, my name is Sonali, and I am the founder of Haplocare. Haplocare is a digital maternal mental health platform where we aim to connect and provide end-to-end services for maternal mental health, starting with self-care, community support, and professional support for women, pregnant women and postpartum women, to mental health professionals and obstetricians and gynecologists who can provide the professional support and get, trained in providing the right level of care to you. So we have just started, and we are working together with Nimhans and other organizations in India to make sure that that everyone can use this whenever you have anxiety or depression during or after childbirth. You can download it download the app right now at haplo.care, but we will be adding more. So it is still in the early stages. We'll be adding more features. So that's about me. I'll hand over to Dr. Shraddha, and she will introduce herself. Shraddha, please take it.
Hi, good afternoon, everyone. It's so good to see all of you rolling in slowly. Okay, so my name is Dr. Shraddha Lotlikar. I'm a psychiatrist and I'm currently working with Dr. Prabha ma'am as a research associate at Nimhans. So Nimhans, or the National Institute of Mental Health and Neurosciences, has been established in 1974. It offers mental health treatment for all psychiatric issues and caters not only to patients and people from India, but even our neighboring countries. I want to take a moment to talk about the work Nimhans has been doing in the field of perinatal psychiatry. So perinatal basically means the issues faced by perinatal psychiatry, rather, the issues, mental health issues faced by expecting and new mothers. So at Nimhans, we run a perinatal OPD every Friday. We take a special interest in taking care of mothers with perinatal mental health problems and also supporting their husbands and families, as well as their infants. So we do specific assessments, give advice, and in an individualized manner related to their clinical condition, then how they can bond as a mother-infant unit, their safety, breastfeeding, and how we can change medications, etc., during their course of their pregnancy. So we also offer preconception advice and medication-related advice for women who are already suffering from psychiatric illnesses. Nimhans also has a mother-baby unit, the first of its kind in India, where both the mother and infant can be admitted. And we provide assessment and treatment for mother's mental illness, along with looking after the bonding of the mother and the child and infant development and overall well-being of the entire family unit. Apart from this, Nimhans is also involved in multiple projects which aim at finding solutions for various maternal mental health issues. Like right now, we are teaming up with the team of Haplocare to create an application to have an easy solution for self-assessment as well as assessment by obstetricians to easily look for mental health issues in pregnant women as well as new mothers. So yeah, that's about Nimhans. Back to you, Sonali.
Thank you, Dr. Shraddha. And now, to set the stage and to start the summit, I would like to invite Dr. Prabha Chandra from Nimhans, who will be talking about why we are doing this today. Dr. Prabha.
Hello, everybody, and it's so lovely to have so many of you join in, and more people will join in soon. We have a wonderful day, afternoon for you, packed with lots of information, tips, guidance. But just to start off the whole conversation, which I think is so important to be able to talk about something that is quite stigmatized. I mean, if mental health is stigmatized, then maternal mental health is even more so, because as you all know, one is expected to feel joyous, happy, positive emotions, but many of us know that doesn't happen uniformly. That 1 in 5 women actually go through distress of various kinds, and don't know whom to talk to, don't know whether they'll be heard, don't know whether it's okay to feel like that. In fact, just the other day, a woman came and told me that, the elderly, the older women in the family say, we didn't have the resources that you have, we didn't have the facilities that you have, and yet you're going through all these problems, and it doesn't make sense. So I think one must sort of acknowledge that it's very hard to talk about mental health, particularly in the pregnancy and in the perinatal period. And it's even harder for people to understand what is really going on. We all know that the perinatal period is a very challenging period. It's not that simple. People who are, women are struggling with various challenges. I mean, there's no longer something called the normal pregnancy. Everybody has some issues they are dealing with. It might be related to your physical health. It might be related to your career. It might be the fact that you're older, younger, the lack of support that you have. You might be going through assisted reproduction. You might have had a bad obstetric history earlier, which basically means that you may have had a loss earlier and you're struggling with that. And in addition to all of that, maybe the fact that you may not have the kind of support you have, or you may be worried that you may not have the support that you need. Your workplace, maybe not all that supportive. You may have a commute and you're worried about how you're going to handle. So, even though it's supposed to be this wonderful, joyous time, we know that women grapple with a whole lot. And somehow, sometimes it becomes more sort of a woman's issue because she's the one who's sort of bearing it all. But it also becomes a couple issue many times. And I think a lot of, relationship challenges happen during the pregnancy and even more so during the postpartum period. So, if pregnancy is about anxiety about what's going to happen in the delivery, will I have a normal baby? Will I have a normal delivery? Whether my blood pressure is okay or not? How do I reach the obstetrician? All of that. The postnatal period is another challenge. It's about managing this little baby, and knowing that vulnerable creature is entirely dependent on you, and that creates a huge burden on the mother very often, and a lot of anxiety, like how am I going to handle this? Something which has come up hugely in literature now and evidence is the importance of sleep in the postnatal period, which is not talked about adequately enough. I mean, people just assume that the baby will be born and it'll, you'll breastfeed and the baby will just grow. But we know that moms don't get enough sleep. And sometimes that itself can trigger anxiety, can lead to sadness, can lead to, like I said, relationship issues and irritability. I mean, if the one emotion that women find very hard to talk about in the postnatal period is actual anger and irritability, and not being able to explain why that is happening. So I think, for all these reasons, perinatal mental health becomes very important. And when we talk about perinatal mental health, we are not saying all of the people who go through distress need medication or need to see a psychiatrist or a specialist. There are various kinds of mental health issues. Some of them can be handled on your own with a little bit of self-care. Some of them can be managed how you're going to listen to some of the methods, and some of them, some of you, who are supporting women, or you yourself are in the perinatal period, may need to meet a specialist, and we will discuss how that is possible. But I think the important thing is to be able to start having the conversation, to know that in pregnancy, if you are distressed, highly stressed, it might actually impact your fetus. It might impact your mental health in the postnatal period. And if you're also grappling with, say, like diabetes or hypertension, that's like a double whammy. And then you deal with both of those things. So I think reaching out and seeking help is probably the most critical aspect. And one of the things we found is that there are huge barriers to accessing help. There are barriers which are within yourself as a woman. The family has barriers because they feel this is all normal. And, why do you need to see a professional for this? Why do you need to seek support for this? Even systems have barriers, even, professionals. So the obstetrician may or may not know how important it is, or you may think it's not important enough to tell an obstetrician that you're going through a problem, because that's not her job. And then you don't know where to take all of this. So I think that there are at every level barriers, but there are also, issues that help you to talk about. And one way is to have a good peer support. And that's something that I think Haplocare as a platform is trying to do, build a lot of peer support. And it has been shown that peer support is one of the most protective factors in women's mental health when they are pregnant or in the perinatal period. And the second thing is that the doctors themselves, the obstetricians, midwives, nurses, need to be educated, need to be open about talking about mental health, how you check on blood pressure, weight, sugars, the fetal heart, everything, anemia. You also check on mental health. And I think that's one of the goals that we have as perinatal mental health specialists. So I think, for all of these reasons, today's conversation is extremely important. And we at Nimhans are very committed to doing this across the country, and bringing perinatal mental health to center stage, so that every obstetrician in the country knows about it. The mental health professionals know about it. All the other professionals who can support women are available, accessible at a click for people. So on that note, I'm looking forward to the rest of the afternoon and interacting with all of you. So I hand it over to you, Sonali.
Thank you very much, Dr. Prabha. You touched upon a lot of important topics that you will actually hear throughout today afternoon, because the next part is women who will be talking about, real women who will be talking about the issues that you just faced, that you just talked about. So I'm going to start the next session, and I will ask the listening circle members to join the stage. And before I start, let me just introduce what Listening Circle is about. Listening Circle is actually one of my favorite parts of Haplocare platform. So every month we have a listening circle where women can join, and the idea is to just talk about your issues. And everybody there is to listen, not to offer advice, not to offer support, not to judge. There's no judgment. And the good part is everybody stays anonymous. So that gives a safe space for everyone to talk about what is the issue, what is happening, and how is it affecting them. So what we will do in the next hour, we have 5 very brave women who offered to talk about their stories in 10 minutes. Of course, it probably spanned years, but they offered that to give us a glimpse of what they went through during their pregnancy and postpartum. And hopefully that gives you an idea of how prevalent this is, and also probably it'll resonate with some of you that you went through the same thing as well. And we hope that this will start the conversations where this kind of conversation is not stigmatized and everybody can talk about it openly. So I will invite our first listening circle member now.
Hello,
Yes,
am I audible?
yes, yes, Pratiksha, go on.
Hi, everyone. I am a new mother of a 5-month-old child. With respect to my pregnancy journey, the entire pregnancy journey was smooth mentally, and I did not have any issues before my delivery, and I was pretty excited about the baby coming in. I had a C-section delivery, and everything was fine till the time I came home. The problem started once I was discharged, and I came home 3-4 days later. I think that was the time when I actually started feeling certain anxieties because of all the new changes that were happening in the house, with the nanny coming in, being in the room, baby being in the room. I think the whole comfort zone just goes away, and the baby needs feeding all through the night. So there were 4-5 nights at a stretch where I couldn't sleep. And I think after 5-6 days, I did not sleep even for a second because of the baby continuously, asking for feeds. And it's really not easy to just, go to sleep when the baby is sleeping. And people just advise that, you should just go to sleep when the baby is sleeping. But it's really not that easy to just, I'm one person who really doesn't get sleep very easily. And I really need to be very calm and composed to actually get a good sleep. So I think that was the first trigger point that came in, where I could not really get good sleep for a number of days. I think 8 to 10 days just passed away, and the sleep issue was still there, and the anxiety was just increasing and increasing, because I think initially the baby had latching issues as well, and the baby's stomach was never full, and everybody just kept saying that he's hungry, and even that in kind of increases the anxiety, because you start feeling that you're not capable enough to feed the baby also. Of course, there's a sudden dependence of baby on you, and you have never experienced that before, that that someone will be so dependent on you throughout the day, and you have to be available, you have to be healthy enough. But unfortunately, after C-section delivery, I was not even physically very fit. So therefore, I think rest is something that I really needed. But as a new mother, if you're feeding continuously, if you have to take care of the baby, you cannot really rest. But that's the first thing that you really need. My family was definitely very supportive. There's no doubt about it. They kept saying that, as Prabha ma'am said, that the family will keep saying that, you have all the facilities, you have all the support, you have all the anxiety, you have all the, facilities around you. Then what is the issue? I mean, we are there to take care of the baby. You just feed, and then we'll do the rest of the tasks. But that thing that they're saying, that doesn't really comfort you when you have a lot of anxiety going in within you. And once you start expressing that you are feeling a certain emotion, you are feeling stressed out, you're feeling anxiety, it's natural for the family members to not understand, because if they have not gone through any mental health issue, they cannot really relate to what is happening with you. The first reaction of your family will always be that how can a small baby give you stress? It's bound to give you happiness. But that exactly was my point, that I was actually not feeling happy. I was just feeling anxiety, and I was feeling low. I felt like crying each day. I obviously didn't understand what is happening with me, because even I was not very aware about postpartum depression. So eventually nobody could really understand. As a first step, we approached the gynecologist that, this is the problem that I'm facing. It's been 10 days. I'm not getting any sleep. I'm not getting any rest. I'm feeling very negative. I'm not feeling attached to the baby at all. I don't feel like, talking to anybody. And that's when the gynecologist gave me a sleep medication, because she's obviously not an expert in the mental health field. So that the first reaction of my gynecologist was that, okay, let's just take a sleeping medication and just sleep for a couple of nights. But even though my anxiety level was at such peak that even the sleeping medication could not really help me. And eventually, again, 4-5 days passed, and it was just, the depression was just increasing and increasing, because I was I was actually feeling that I'm mentally paralyzed. I mean, doing basic daily tasks of getting up, having a shower, wearing my clothes, doing basic tasks at the house was getting very difficult for me at that point of time. And of course, the family not understanding, and the feeling of not feeling attached to the baby, all that leads to guilt as well. I think guilt is one emotion that a mother starts feeling from the very first date, even if you get a lot of comfort from the house members. But guilt is something that you will always feel, if you're not able to breastfeed all the time, and let's say you're, eventually giving formula to the baby, even that gives you stress, because the doctor will firstly advise you that you don't need to give formula to the baby, you need to breastfeed 100%. But if that was not working for me and I had to introduce formula again, that was, giving me that guilt. And that the entire guilt factor, I think that also increased my anxiety and depression. Eventually I developed a phobia, that I cannot really, sleep with my baby, I cannot sleep with anybody. That is a phobia that I developed, and it took me a very long time to overcome that phobia. So all that just uh, became a vicious cycle that you cannot sleep with a baby, but at the same time you're feeling so guilty about it. So that's when we decided that my gynecologist suggested a psychologist. So I visited a psychologist, and I tried to understand my problem. I gave an assessment test, and that's where they assess that you are actually facing a lot of postpartum anxiety and postpartum depression. I was also having another disorder. I was diagnosed with OCDs because OCD is obsessive compulsive disorder, where you might start doing certain tasks repetitively without, which really don't make sense. Like, if you're going and checking the logs 20 times, or you're doing certain basic tasks a number of times, it's not making sense, but you're doing those actions. That is because your brain is giving a signal that, you have to do these actions. So, I developed those OCDs also, and I think that was majorly due to sleep deprivation. And I really think that, sleep deprivation is quite an underrated concept. If your sleep is not complete, I think anxiety, depression, phobias, OCDs, everything can arise. So that's what I think the first problem is sleep. I think if a mother gets a decent amount of 4-5 hours of sleep also at a stretch, I think that can be really comforting. So eventually I went to the psychologist, I got therapy. A lot of things I understood. I took a couple of sessions. No doubt it did help me to overcome certain, anxieties, certain phobias, because they obviously advised me to, do certain things which you were doing before delivery or before pregnancy, so that you can, feel normal. I did try all that. It did help me to a certain extent, but I think it was not enough for me in my case, because maybe the depression was at a higher level. And eventually we did have to go to the psychiatrist. Now, in my case, although my family, my in-laws were not able to relate to my issues, but my parents, my mom and dad, were still able to understand these issues, because they have seen certain mental health issues in the family, so they were aware about who's a psychologist, who's a psychiatrist. So I think my mom really understood me, and she helped me to connect with the right people at the right time, which really helped me. So visiting the psychiatrist was, I think, a blessing for me at that point of time, because I got the right medication. Of course, you contemplate a lot that, you do not want to take medication and all that, but eventually I think that was the thing that I really needed, and taking that medication was, I think, a blessing. And that's how I overcome my that's how I'm still on medication, but I'm definitely at a very, very better state of mind. I don't feel depressed anymore. I feel attached to the baby. I'm getting good sleep. So that's the only advice that I have for everybody on this platform, that just go and take professional help whenever you need it. I mean, do not think that it's something where you will be judged. I think going out and asking for help is the first thing that you need to do, without feeling any guilt about it, or without any feeling that you'll be judged. So that's my experience that I had.
Thank you so much, Pratiksha, for sharing your journey and also how you overcome it. And I'm sure a lot of women would relate to this. So thank you again for sharing. Next, we have Asha. Asha, can you unmute yourself and please go ahead.
Yes. Hi, I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay, thank you so much for having me here. I must say, this is only my second listening circle, but I'm really happy that I could join for this webinar today to share some of my experiences. I was just looking up on this word partum, and like, what does that really mean? And like all the definitions and the root verb, root meanings of partum always showed up as, giving birth or bringing forth, something like that. And then I realized how difficult it was for me to even associate with the word postpartum or PPD or anything to do with partum, because I am a mother of two children, and both of them are not biological. And so, I just kept myself away from this whole discussion, thinking, no, this is not for me. This is something else. This is for mothers who have given birth, and that's why it comes under partum. But I think my experience over the past years have taught me something else. And this is something that I really don't know. I don't know the theory behind it, and I don't know what science behind it, but it's purely my experience of what went on and what is still going on with my life. And I think primarily it had all to do with my own identity, as a woman, somewhere in the early 40s, who is becoming a mother. And becoming a mother was always in my own heart, a dream, something that I really, really wanted for myself. At the same time, there was also this outside or external perspective on what is real motherhood and how romantic it is, or how beautiful that feeling is. So I think all of this together did quite the opposite of preparing me for real motherhood, like my own self, and also external perspectives for me in that journey of becoming a mother. So my whole identity shifted so drastically. The day I got the SMS from Kara, for example, and then so there was no, though my whole life I wanted it, but there wasn't any time to prepare, and so it was just it, and then jumping right into it. And I realized that I had my own life rhythm going on before that as a single woman, and then making this shift to be a mother, and what that really did for my own identity was something that I wasn't prepared, and nothing could really prepare me for it. I think what happened after that was that all the changes started happening one after the other. Changes within my own self, what I had to give up, what I could not take up any longer, and what I could invest my time in, or everything. And especially, I think three important parts to the changes that happened was one with relationships, with partner. Nothing prepared for that road, what it means to have children suddenly, and what is the time that we have for ourselves, and are we even prepared for this, or should we just run away from this whole situation? So I think it really broke us down so badly, especially me, that every relationship around me started suffering, including my own family and my own friends. I realized that I had nothing else to speak about except the challenges of, playing this role of a mother. And obviously, friends are there and they're always there with you. But then when this is the only thing that you're talking about, they either think that, you've lost it, or, you've really lost the track of your life. And so, that distance started building up between your own, old friends, colleagues, peers. And then I think only what held me together was finding those people who not just had the time, but then who were there to listen and not offer any advice as such, but just to listen and hold space for you. And I think that change happened over the course of 1.5 years. And only then I was really able to sort of even look at what has happened in my life. But all of these changes, but really what came next was uh, I think a period of hell, to be honest, because I couldn't recognize my own self. The person who I always thought was a very kind, compassionate, and loving person suddenly turns into this monster, because there was so much of anger, there's so much of rage and frustration in every silly thing. And you wake up in the morning thinking that today is going to be a great day, and I'll not do this, I'll not do that, but it probably takes just 15 minutes after wake up for everything to go topsy-turvy, and then you start self-doubting. I started self-doubting myself, whether this is what it is for me or not, and then that spirals into severe bouts of depression. um, I think it was also like a lot of power struggles with the young ones, which I never thought, I never imagined as a person I would do that. But that is what it was, and I think that is what it is still even now, in so many instances. And I think all of this led to a total lack of focus on things that really mattered to me, and the depression and the declining mental health and anxiety issues is something that I did not pay attention to. I didn't realize what was going on. Just running on autopilot, basically just running on autopilot, making sure things are okay. At least the basic things in the house should move. And like when you're running on autopilot, you don't get time to even sit down and reflect, to understand what is going on. And especially when there isn't anything that you can turn to as a template, or as a guide or anything in this, and you also feel that no, you don't even come under this PPD thing. It has something to do with hormonal changes, it has something to do with the science of what happens to a woman's body, and you never went through all of that. So those things kept me away from even spending time myself to read and think about PPD, which I finally did at a much later stage. And then I started reading a lot because I didn't know about it. I had no idea. Forget about dealing with it. I couldn't even define what it means, first of all, and what it will mean for me, especially with adoptive and foster care children in my life. But I really found there were a lot of tools available, and I would really strongly suggest every one of us to find those tools and read about them. But I would also add the disclaimer that, not all of those will work for us. The second point I would add is that all of those tools, they sound so amazing, and some of them sound so easy, and you start thinking like, what the hell, why am I not able to do this? But I think knowing about the tools is one thing, but practicing those tools is a whole different ball game. And I think always being conscious about, like, how do you put them into practice? Knowing them is not enough. I sat with this information for a long time, but I couldn't attempt to even implement them. And I have to say that it is all not working. It is many days it's a complete and utter disaster. And but the attempt is on, and to kind of sustain my own self and the family that I really wanted for myself. I think what worked for me was the step out from the situation, breathe, and then come back. I tried it many times. That really helped me a lot, to just shut down for that moment and, come back to it feeling better. I feel that, I also spent a lot of time writing notes to myself and sticking them all over the house. And, reading those again also gave me, reminders in this autopilot mode that, this is what you are, and this is what, and none of these triggers are going to break you down. Like, you'll have to find alternative ways to deal with. And I think the biggest one, which I'll almost end by saying, is that this whole area of unmet needs, even this word unmet needs was very difficult for me to understand or also explain it to anyone else. When everything is all right, you have all the resources, you have everything. What is this unmet needs? But I think the whole list of unmet needs are so long if you start putting them down, and then only you realize what you really needed and what was not met for you in this period of your life. And then only you will be able to track what kind of support you need. There was a lot of push for seeking professional help, which I did, which I would also say worked and also didn't work in so many instances. So my really strong, feeling, I'm not to advise or suggest anything, but we really need to see what works for us and how much time we have to give for seeking help and then working on it. I have to end, but then yes, self-care. What does self-care mean to you, and what you can do for yourself is something that we have to define for our own self. So I'll stop by saying that this has been a journey, a crazy journey, but a very beautiful one, seeking support and moving along. And I'm so glad that I'm part of this group also, that helps me to survive and sustain. So thank you. Bye.
Thank you so much, Asha. When Asha did her first listening circle in Haplocare, it challenged my view as well that postpartum depression only happens to biological parents, but it was an eye-opening journey for me. So, and I'm sure it is for everyone else who is listening. So thank you, Asha, for sharing your journey. Very much privileged to be part of it. Next, we have Priyanka. Priyanka, can you hear me?
Yes, I can quickly.
Yes, please go ahead.
Yeah, so I stay in Mumbai. I have a 16-month-old toddler. I remembered that, when I was pregnant, I got to know I was already 4 months pregnant, and that was quite a shocker. I remember taking 2 days to accept and move ahead with it. And of course, once I think I accepted, I was fully on board. Both my husband and I were very excited. I didn't get to know, of course, because I had PCOD. It does happen in some women's cases that they don't understand that they're pregnant because they don't experience usual symptoms of nausea or other symptoms. So I didn't. And plus, I was anyways weight-wise on the heavier side. So I didn't come to know till I made a visit to my gynec. So cut to cut to delivering my child. I remember my first 4 months were largely pleasant, owing to the fact that I had a supportive husband. And the physical labor aspect of it, or the sleepless nights, were really not something that shook me or that turned my world upside down. I was very much prepared for that. And because I knew that in my case, I knew that I had felt lost and had poor self-care, poor self-esteem, no purpose, no drive in life. And when I got to know I was going to become a mother, I really looked forward to those months, and there were here and there were a few instances that had to do with about my weight that may have popped up here and there, or something to do with how aggressive I'm being about laying boundaries, because 20-30 years prior, parenting practices were different, like when our parents took care of us versus us. So I definitely could see myself in the first 4 months itself being extra careful about things. But what really changed the game for me was my pediatrician visit when my child was 4.5 months old. And so the pediatrician I was going to wasn't the one who followed current recommendations. And so he was of the opinion about starting semi-solids or solids from 4 months of age, and giving whatever, giving gripe water, giving water to the child and whatnot. And what I ended up feeling from that event was that my body is failing. Maybe I didn't do something right, which is why he must have suggested this. Of course, I came into motherhood not knowing much. I read here and there, tried to prepare myself as much as I could. But that definitely shook me. And parenting practices that have to do with giving cow's milk early on, so my mother was also behind me. Why don't you give a bottle? Why don't you do this? Oh, there's some nasal blockage that we can sense. Put some Vicks on, or whatever, so endless things that I can continue to list down here, which we don't have time for. But I definitely could see myself getting more and more irritable. And I anyways had pre-existing anxiety issues since quite a few years, and my husband had been trying his best to support me in his own ways. He believes in the philosophy of tough love, which has changed now, thankfully. But I definitely, like I said, my mental health in its uh, prior to being pregnant wasn't in its best place. So I thought whatever emotional volatility I'm experiencing, whatever irritability, anger I'm experiencing, must be because of that. And instances like, for example, if I'm trying to nurse my child, put her to sleep, child might cry, so others may think that they're trying to help, that they're coming in the room and they're trying to clap and distract the baby, and I'm like, you're making my task harder. And I remember um uh, closing my fist so tight and just barging out of the room, stuff like that. Them trying to be well-meaning and genuinely concerned and help with the own ways they wanted to take care of the baby, and I constantly felt like there was performance pressure on my head. And the pre-existing anxiety or whatever challenges I had experienced earlier, they blew up in my face from the fourth, fifth month onwards, and everything became about performance pressure. Everything became about being aggressive and laying down boundaries, and it really exhausted my patience to no end, when I felt like if I've given an instruction or I've expected something, why isn't it followed through? And it happens that people might forget, or they may not. You can't expect them to like be aware of when does your child go off to sleep. Or even now that my child is a toddler, I hate the fact that I have to keep reminding people whenever we have to make outings, we have to do it during the times that she's awake, because I know what her routine is like. She's not on a regimen, but her routine, by this time she generally gets tired. And yes, her capacity to stay awake increases, but gradually. So stuff like that, there was a lot of differences in opinion, and I felt I was lonely, isolated, and my relationship with my husband, of course, was affected. And like I said, he's believed in tough love, and he's understood, I think, gradually that um, it really didn't help in my case. So he tries in his own ways to be supportive and listens to me. Otherwise, I felt like I had to walk on eggshells. I had to felt like it, feel like I felt like I had to convince people about the unconventional parenting practices that I've undertaken. I felt I had to also seek approval and validation from people. And it's so sad when I look back at the pictures. My child looks so happy and healthy, and I wish I had been more present back then. I wish I wouldn't have been obsessed with the with thinking if everybody thinks a weight is okay, and why the hell should I have to worry about what others think. Praying and hoping that she doesn't wake up in the night as many times, so that they won't have to think, "Yeah, arey, maybe it's because you're breastfeeding, that's why you need to give more top up," or whatever. So I don't know. And the emotion was always as if I am not going to live up to the pressure, the intensity felt as if she will be taken away from me, which is bizarre. But I genuinely remember my husband saying to me, "You know that nobody's going to take her away from you, right? You are the alpha, you do your thing." But somehow anxiety got the better of me. And I was on therapy um 2-3 months postpartum, I think. Yeah, so good 9-10 months of therapy. I don't know where I would have been had it not been for my therapist. And also times when I felt lonely, isolated, because I had rubbed people off the wrong way. I think people were not able to understand what's happening with me. I was being so aggressive and angry, that I felt like I had to just call up mental health helplines and speak to a complete stranger, because honestly that helped me. And I didn't have that many actually, I don't remember having mums in my circle whom I could connect to. Then I think recently, 2 months back, I got to know this friend of mine had gotten married and had a baby. Let me connect with her. So, having in-person support from mums makes such a huge difference. I'm telling you, my therapist, lactation educator, Mena, I remember I spoke to her. The support group I was a part of, these were the spaces where I felt like I was not crazy. I don't know what I would have done otherwise, because there was such a huge gap in what I was doing and what was expected from me. I don't know how I would have survived. And I would also be worried because I remember, why did I not think about being diagnosed with postpartum depression or postpartum rage? Even though I was on therapy, I think I always kept thinking that because my living arrangement is unconventional. I don't know how many of you mothers relate, but because I stay here with my parents in Mumbai, my husband, my child, and I stay with my parents, and that's owing to a number of reasons. My husband's work hours, it's convenient for him to come back home sooner and spend more time with baby. Because of my mother's health, we get to support her. But what ended up happening because of that was I felt immense guilt and shame, because I felt my child was not getting to spend as much, and was not getting to spend equal amounts of time with both sets of grandparents. So we traveled every second month for like a month or so. I stayed at my in-laws' place, and but each time I had to deal with a different. I mean, it was a different place. Like my in-laws are very supportive, progressive people, thank God. But even in that case, I know how privileged I might sound. I was able to access therapy, have supportive family members. Still, I felt lonely. I couldn't connect with anybody. I genuinely felt like I had to punch at least one person a day. It was that kind of feeling. Random people, let's say at a grocery store, if I go to and I put my toddler, so she's a relatively taller child, so she looks like she's older. So I put her in the toddler because I have to bring back groceries and cross the road. So it gets convenient for me because I get to put stuff. So many times the staff would ask me, why do you have to put her in the pram? People giving you unsolicited advice, strangers, complete strangers, and I felt ambushed, and I would let it ruin my day. And therapy helped me to vent, to just say what I had to say. uh, but honestly, it did take me a long time to uh, start working on myself. I still, I'll be honest, my self-care isn't that great. Sleep is my sweet escape. Whenever I feel down, feel disconnected, I would be either on my phone or I'd be sleeping. So my goal is to get at least an hour away from my child. I try to. I'm the primary caregiver of my child, and it gets exhausting. It gets frustrating to even tell my husband, who's come back home to spend time with the child, to say, hey, it's her sleep time. So yeah, I'm working on it, trying to work on my well-being for the sake of my well-being and for my child also. But I have stopped prioritizing other people's opinions, and I'm not here to explain anything to anybody, is what I keep telling myself. And it's a work that I have to put in the work every single day. But I'm still irritable, but much better. The intensity of those negative emotions have come down. There were times when I felt so disconnected, where I would not think of attempting, but think of what it would be like if I didn't exist anymore. But that is a thought scary enough. It doesn't matter if you have attempted or not, but the fact that I even thought about things would be so much less stressful if I just didn't exist is a scary place to be in. And seeking help is so important. I know it takes time, it takes guts, to a strength to pick yourself up and ask for help. And there are times where the help or support you're getting may not match what you need, but it's okay. I keep telling myself, and I tell my friends also, or whichever mother may come and ask me if at all she needs help, don't stop. Like, don't give up hope, don't stop. You can always go to somebody else and speak. Let's say if a therapist you're going to, if the therapist is not a match, like how you go to a restaurant and look at the cost, you look at what all services you get at a restaurant or whatever. You can do that with the therapist. I know it sounds very like layperson way of explaining things, but your mental health, you can definitely like do whatever is in your power. And I know very well not all mothers have the kind of privilege and access to get help, but just hang in there. A big hug to all of you. And I hope whatever I've shared, you feel like you can connect with it.
Thank you so much, Priyanka. Yes, I completely, I mean, thank you for sharing all your thoughts, but I completely agree that, you know, it takes a village, and we are expected to do this alone. So I completely agree with you that having support around you, whatever works for you, is really, really very important. So thanks for sharing. And we will move on to the next participant. Vipasha, can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Okay, Vipasha, please go ahead.
So I have around 2.5-year-old toddler. So my journey started back in 2020. So before that, we had both of us, my husband and I, we had had to go through a struggle of infertility. So I had hit my 30s and I was anxious. I was more keen to have baby. He wasn't keen to have baby because he said it's not that late. But I had PCOD back then, so I really wanted to be a mother for a long, long time. More than getting married, I wanted to be a mother. So we dated for a while, and as soon as we got married, I was on this spree that I want to have a baby, and he did not want to. Then I was diagnosed with PCOD, and the battle went on. And then I convinced him that already I have this problem, and we have to, become parents as soon as possible. So for 2 years, this was struggle to conceive, and then I got to know the problem that was not with me, and there were other problems, infertility problem, male infertility problems. So another year, so and a series of failed IUI attempts. So after that, miraculously in 2020, I conceived. Doctors had told me that I can only conceive through IVF thing. So when miraculously I conceived, I was very, very happy. And it was also the day when lockdown was announced. So immediately after that, I had to face 15 days after my conception, I had to face threatened abortion. So I was admitted, and again, anxiety issues right from the beginning, that I'm not going to be a mother. Is it possible that I'll be mother one day? So then I survived threatened abortion with injections and all, which led to extreme vomiting because lots of SCG and all that. So my pregnancy was relatively calmer because I put a lot of pressure on how to stay healthy and happy for my baby, which is a miracle. So after that, in 4th month, I was diagnosed with gestational diabetes. It was sudden depletion of insulin. So another, I used to get a lot of anxiety, whether I used to keep thinking whether I'll survive this. So I had put my best effort in eating healthy because I was put on diabetic diet. So a lot of stress on keeping the bump healthier. So I was focused. So I was happy. I should do a lot of pranayam. Any physical exercise, yoga was not allowed for me. And then series of other problems, low something, low pregnancy. I don't remember the exact term now. So then when but overall it was a good experience because my husband was present. Usually he's a very busy person, and he is a, again, like Priyanka said, tough love. He has that kind of thing. But when I became pregnant, it was a sort of miracle. So he was available to me. So pregnancy was happy, although I had physical problems. So in comparison to what came later. So when postpartum, when I delivered my baby, so first of all, my in-laws were very happy. So, and what suddenly the baby became such a huge focus of attention that there were guests barging in the hospital. And again, I was already carrying COVID anxiety. Whenever I used to go for checkup, I used to feel that again I lose this baby, I'll get infection. What if this happens? So that got triggered right in the beginning, that he is born, and already since I was diabetic, he was on the check, and there were needles being pierced in his tiny hand. So I was already I used to feel guilt that why I was not healthier while conceiving him, why I did not lose more weight, although I was not very healthy, still a lot of guilt already. So I decided I'll give 100% to this baby. So I started, my lactation consultant came and she counseled me about how you should go for 100% breastfeeding. So, and she convinced me with her logics. So because I did not know about breastfeeding at all, I wasn't prepared. I'm not an Instagram person, I was not a social media person, so no knowledge about postpartum. So when she told me throw these bottles away, so I took it very seriously. I said, no, I'll give 100% breastfeeding. So when I came home, right from the beginning, they said that no, this is not the way. The atmosphere around me was, no, we have also, brought up our children. No mother has to breastfeed completely. It can be substituted by a bottle. So I took stand at that time. So they were okay for first month. And right in the beginning, I have a relative who's an old gynecologist and obstetrician. So my husband jokingly said that we were not getting a person to look after. So he jokingly said, I'll sleep with her. So when he said this was made fun of, that you will sleep with her. Is it possible? Men do not sleep with women in their postpartum period. And since it came from the mouth of an obstetrician, gynecologist, I also accepted it, being such an aware person, because I was thrilled that I have baby in my hands. So I said whatever it takes. So I felt bad a little bit that he can sleep with me if he wants to, but it came from such an authoritative figure that I had to accept it. So I said maybe first few months it's fine. So I then a stranger was put with me in my bed, and I first few days were fine, first month was fine, although there was a lot of anti narrative on breastfeeding, that no, this is not the way the children are brought up, these are new things now, they are Google people, they're Google women and something like that. So I am conditioned, I was conditioned for last 3 years to live in a family which has usually patriarchal norms, and women are not given attention to. So rather than letting it disrupt my peace, I ignored many things. I said I have to stay strong for this baby. So my husband, he was absent from my life. He changed his his life became about bachelorhood. He started taking trips. He started taking hikes with his friends. In first 4 months, he took around 6 to 8 hikes nearby the hilly areas. So he was totally absent. I used to feel bad, but again, as I told, I was thrilled about the baby. It was all about the baby. I started feeling lonely. There were oscillations, like throughout the day, I used to feel happy talking to my baby. And, at night, when I used to be alone, I used to feel that loneliness. And 4 or 5 months, it went on with the anti narrative of whatever I said was uh, you know not validated, that this thing that one bottle should be introduced. So when I started complaining in a very matter of fact style, that why isn't he available, he should at least, if he can't sleep with me, he should be there with me to spend time with the baby, he's totally absent from my life. So being the patriarchal household, being my mother-in-law also used to towing the she has also been victim of this thinking. But now I have seen that women, when they grow older, they start using it as a martyrship. Oh, I did this, I survived this, I'm so great, I did not argue with my husband, I was a peacemaker, I made this home, and something like that. So whenever I tell her, or because he would not listen, he's very dominating, as I told you, when I'll tell her, he said, no, I cannot be around the baby, I cannot work, my work is so important, I am handling so much. And how do you expect, there are so many people, there is so much house help. So he in turn would make me feel guilty, because highly argumentative nature, which I could not argue. I really respect peace, I prefer peace. In wake of doing that, I have ignored so much, I mean, wrong things being done to me, just to maintain that peace. So I would be keep quiet, and then I'll sometimes raise my concern that why he's totally absent. So whatever lacking was there from my husband was attributed to me. So this narrative was being started thrown on me, that because you are breastfeeding the baby, and baby wakes up so much, so how can husband sleep? I used to put my children on bottle, and we used to enjoy such a healthy relationship. I used to put my babies to cot, so your father-in-law and me, we used to sleep. So it was all about me doing wrong things, that weird things, that who does this. You have to go according to your husband. If you are not giving time to your husband, how will it's not his problem. So, so all the blame was put on me. And any woman, intelligent woman coming to my house, were conditioned in a way that they have to talk to me in a way that uh, put the baby into cot, then only husband will come to you. It's your fault. We have to take care of our husband. Husbands, they feel isolated when we separate them like this. You are doing too much for the baby, you are not available. So this thing, and then co-sleeping was targeting that why you're not putting on a separate cot. We brought up our babies, then breastfeeding was targeted. 6 months it was still fine. After that, there was huge pressure on me that why I am not introducing bottle. So, and I became all the more defiant, and the depression started dawning on me. And there used to be days, right from the 6th month only, I thought that why I'm not happy. I have to be happy. So I did so much to make myself happy. Like, I should take my baby outside for 1 hour, and then come and not talk to anybody, not talk to anybody at all. Started retreating and keeping silent, and only focusing on my baby, on only talking to him. I almost stopped talking to my own mother, because there was this anger inside me that why she's not available for me. She was not available because my own sister-in-law had baby at the same time, and she said she has to be available for her, otherwise she'll feel bad. So I felt that uh, I should stop talking to everybody. So I almost stopped talking to my own friends. And then in the 8th, then I had to join work, and I joined work. And when I went there, I should talk very little. And then I realized that there's also lots of non-cooperative behavior there. My boss, immediate boss, who was the head, I kept telling him that I only have my work hours. At that time I was a professor at a college. My lecture, I only have 3 lectures to deliver, but there's so empty time in between. Why you have extended? So he said, no, this is only available. I pleaded a lot that I have to get back to my baby. My baby is not on an additional feed apart from the solids. So I indirectly told him that how my body, how my breast fills up and it's uncomfortable. Please give me a time, more consolidated, compact, but it was not done. So that was time my depression triggered. I was sleepless, doing a lot, staying at work, and being anxious all the time, thinking about my baby all the time. And there was also one incident which happened when my baby was very small, when my mother-in-law tried to feed him at my back through the bottle. So that particular event had triggered a lot of anxiety, that at my back something will happen. So something they will do which is against my narrative, so against my instruction. So in during the work, I used to feel very restless, and I started doing lots of anxiety eating, and I gained a lot of weight at that time. So and people started commenting on that, how I still look pregnant, and how I look bad, and how my face is, I'm lost mother. On my face they used to say that I'm lost mother, although I used to speak very little. So all of this triggered lots of you know thing drove me to a point that I actually did not want to exist. Why all this is so difficult, not forgetting the point, my husband was totally absent from my life at this time. But I was in denial that I could get PPD. I had slight inclination. And then I had this was again increased by the fact that I had a fall, and I had to stay at home and take online classes for 1 month. And I further gained weight, had breathlessness, almost became diabetic. And this was all very bad, till the point when my son turned 1. I thought I have to do something about it, and I told him that either I'm going to die, or I want to go somewhere alone. So we had a small place in Baroda. So I said I want to go there. I want to go away from all this. Surprisingly, till now, I did not know that there is a thing called postpartum therapy. And being so aware, because I was not connected to any of social media thing, and I was always a very studious person, completed my PhD right before conceiving. So I always very busy person. So I said, I cannot get depression. It's very sad. And also owing to the fact that I used to counsel myself that how I can be strong. And I knew that all this is due to a husband who's not supportive, a family which is misogynist. They were always, whatever I was saying, they were saying this. She thinks thinks too high of to herself. Humne bacche nahi pale. So all the time this narrative was there, and this was mouthed by my husband also. Whenever I tried to connect to him. So
Bipasha, I'm really sorry to interrupt. Please go ahead, but we just need to
Yes.
wind it up in a minute.
Yes.
Thanks.
So after a year, I took a break, and I thought I was a yoga practitioner for a long time, but during the first year I did not practice yoga. I was in depression, and then I took therapy for few sessions. It was too expensive for me because I left work, and then I resorted to yoga. And I just thought that there are women around me who pretend that we want to help, but they are not helping. So many women who make life of other women very difficult. So I thought, let me be that woman who actually helps women who are in my shoes. So I started this yoga thing where I would it's a comprehensive thing, postpartum yoga sessions. I devised that without any support from a husband. So I devised these curated these special sessions which focused on, because yoga helped me a lot. Yoga, meditation, it actually helped me. Therapy worked for me, but the problem was not in me. My reactions were already controlled. I was already focusing on how can I improve myself. So after 1 year, I started yoga for myself. 6 months I practiced it. I revived my course, and I started taking classes for 2 to 3 women. I also lost weight, and things improved for me. And I am on the path to healing in terms of relationship with my husband. So for me, it was a tough journey, and I did not know about therapy or peer group. I just wish that I knew about all this earlier, and I did not have to go through such painful experiences and thinking about suicide for almost a year and not doing it because the baby is there. So I just feel that women should take help, any sort of help, whenever they have to. That's it.
Thank you so much, Bipasha. A lot of women can relate to what you just said. I know I can in certain ways. The social aspect, we forget that there's an entire society around us, our family, and that is a huge component as well. So next I'll invite Rashmi to talk about her journey. Rashmi?
Yeah. Hi, Sonali. Am I audible?
Hi. Yes, you are.
Hi. Good afternoon, everyone, and good afternoon, Sonali. And yeah, I was quite intently listening to Bipasha, Pratiksha, Asha, and Priyanka. And I know somewhere we all mothers relate to one or the other aspect of the experiences that they have gone through. So I'll start with mine. And basically, I was more excited about sharing how I coped with the problem that I had faced, and sharing the resources. Right. So I would start with this thing that almost 2-3 months before I was to deliver the child, I have a 14-month-old boy, and before his before the delivery, 2-3 months before the delivery, I in every visit to the doctor, to our gynecologist, I really used to, he's a very fun person, by the way, and I used to ask him that how do I breastfeed the child, is there any lactation consultant that the hospital has. Somewhere I was worried about, more than anything, about lactation, because for one, I knew that I had a physical issue, which was inverted nipple, and I had also got a scan done very near to my delivery, which very clearly showed that I had really heavily inverted nipple, like they were really badly inverted. Right. So we on paper knew that I had a problem, and somewhere I had that instinct that kuch to hone wala hai, maybe I may have problem feeding the child. Now I was that person who knew nothing about breastfeeding. In fact, I would say I didn't know about this aspect of my body, right? The strength of my body, that how we can feed the child. But that instinct was there that, there is something that has to be done before I deliver, because I was very particular about everything. While I was pregnant, I always kept myself happy. I used to do a lot of yoga, meditation, everything. In fact, I was thrown out of my job when my university came. I also was an assistant professor, and when they came to know that I'm pregnant, and I said that it's COVID times, can I take classes from home? And they refused, and then I was supposed to resign. Anyway, that is another story. But still, I kept myself in a very good state of mind. And I think that was till the last, only till the last hour before, my C-section was to happen. I very clearly distinctly remember that 3 to 4 hours before the C-section was to happen, I asked the doctor again that, how will I breastfeed my child? Now, every time when I used to ask him, he used to, quite make fun, which I also didn't take it seriously. But, she's stressed. She used to tell my husband, she's really stressed out, and ho jayega. Karke. I was like, ho jayega. But the last time when I asked the doctor that how do I breastfeed my child, and when, he kind of laughed off. He's like, she's still stressed out. I was like, now this time it is not a joke. I also, I at that moment, I felt that whatever the opportunity and the time I had to know about breastfeeding, it has completely slipped off my hand. Right. So I was like, okay, let it happen. Let the baby come, and let's then figure out, because I knew that I now I had no time in my hand to really understand anything related to breastfeeding. In fact, I had tried reading about breastfeeding and tried watching some YouTube videos, but somehow I was not understanding things because of the technicalities involved. What is this latching and all of those things. So that was the first stage when the effort towards breastfeeding, a request to a doctor, to a medical fraternity that please tell me about breastfeeding and lactation, that was not taken into consideration. That was stage 1. Let me come to stage 2, when the baby was born. Right. So, because, as I said, I had inverted nipples, I could not latch the baby, baby could not latch. I could not figure out that why is the child crying after every 20 minutes? What are these sleepless nights? Nobody prepared me mentally that there is something called as sleepless nights, which you will experience for months to come. Nobody prepared me for that. Right. I mean, I feel that it was at least the responsibility of the hospital, or in fact, I'd say even my own mother to tell me about it. But I was not, and I didn't know about it because I had never held a child in my hand. Right. So as I said, coming to the stage 2, the child couldn't latch. I started lactating I remember from 2nd and 3rd day, but I was not able to feed the child. Moreover, because I had C-section, I was not in a position to sit myself. But somehow, we were managing things, and I came back home from hospital on the 4th day. So when I came back home, I tried latching the child, but somehow, as I said, things were not working. I was lactating. The milk was, like all the mothers here must be knowing that if you do not latch the child, if you do not take out or express out the milk from your breast, gradually the supply will keep on going down. Nobody told me all of these things, right? And so it started happening. And at the same time, till this time, the baby was on mixed feed. I was latching, I was trying to latch, but I felt that the child is maybe he's not full or so. And then we were giving formula. So these things kept on happening. At the same time, I was consulting this pediatrician. Now, I'll tell you, this pediatrician, I'm really sorry for all the doctors here, but this particular doctor, it made my initial days of motherhood hell. Why? Because he did not try to know that I have something called as inverted nipple. In fact, I was so unaware that even I didn't tell him that, this is something, this is the kind of issue that I have, because I had no idea कि मैं बता के भी क्या करूं, that was the kind of thing. The way he actually tried to find solution to feeding the child was 1 week he would ask me to give formula to the child. The other week he'll say no, now fully breastfeed the child. वो कितना भी रोए रोने दो लेकिन आप breastfeed करो. And I did that. Like really, I mean that's something I don't appreciate, but I did that. Right. And then I saw that the weight of the child kept on decreasing. However, I would not say that child was not getting sufficient milk because the peak count was 6 to 8 as it is, as it should be. Right. So all of these things kept happening. But when the child's weight went drastically down, I felt that, there is something that is going wrong. The doctor is either not giving the right advice or whatever. Right. So I took it upon myself to then do entire research, reading and understanding about all of these things. Now, because we are talking about mental health here, I tell you, I may had a physical issue, but the thing is that it was also an emotional issue for me because a mother seeking advice from a gynecologist 2 months before the child is to be born that please aap mujhe lactation ke bare mein batao. She requesting the pediatrician to figure out a way, and those people not helping, it was emotionally draining for me. I remember an instance when I visited the doctor with my husband, and he told my husband, because I had also consulted a lactation consultant when things were really going out of hand, and he saw that parchi, and he told my husband that आप अपनी wife को उनकी मर्जी का मत करने दो. ठीक है, आप उनको उनकी मर्जी का मत करने दो. And he also said that he told me that you are reading way too much. Right, when I started sensing that things are going wrong. So this kind of misogynist statement coming out of a pediatrician, it was and to a mother who really wants to breastfeed her child, and she's kind of feeling that she's not getting any support from any quarter, right? So it was emotionally draining for me. So it was a physical problem that I was facing, and as at the same time an emotional stress that I was going through. Now here I really can't blame my family members because you see, I mean, my mother was also there. I stay in a joint family with my in-laws, but they really could not have helped me at that situation because they were, I had a different kind of a problem, right? So that was one thing. I was at a stage where I was not knowing the terms like milestones or cluster feeding, dream feeding, growth spurt, etc. And I tell you, that was one point in my life. There had been many moments in my life I had felt alone, but that was one point in my life I felt alone and I felt entirely defeated. I mean, I remember, lying once on the bed and just thinking about it that, I have failed my child. I have failed. This is the biggest defeat that I have faced in my life. And the kind of loneliness that I had, I felt that is there somebody who can really support me, help me understand what is going on? Thankfully, that was the time when one of my friends, she told me about this Facebook support group, and I'm quite sure a couple of mothers must be knowing here. This is something, the resource, because Sonali had written in the mail that certain resources which could be helpful to mothers. So I got a lot of support in terms of right knowledge. I quote unquote, I'm using the word right, because breastfeeding today is mired in myths and misinformation. I'm telling you, it also comes from the mothers of our generation, definitely from mothers, some mothers from the previous generation as well. I'm not being judgmental, but this is the practical thing. So, so yeah, I got support from breastfeeding support for Indian mothers, in the sense that I read there a lot of posts. I read experiences of each and every mother. I must have read almost lakhs of questions and answers. And then I figured out, okay, this is the problem. This is how it can be solved, right? So, I'm sorry, my child is crying. So yeah, so this is one of the support group that I got help from. I also got help from Maina Seth. She really helped me out with baby-led weaning, and in fact, she helped me be in contact with such a great group wherein we are sharing experiences. And then I learned a lot about breastfeeding. I was also very particular about what kind of information I am absorbing about breastfeeding, because there are a lot of misinformation circulating. If you do simple Google search, we may not find the right information. So we actually have to go to the right group wherein we can get the right information. I also sadly came to learn that, and because we have doctors and experts here, they may correct me if I'm wrong, that while in medical studies, the doctors just get to study about lactation for an hour or so. So you may not believe it, but the pediatrician I was consulting later on now, because I know a lot about lactation and breastfeeding, he really didn't know anything. He was so much misguiding me that it had really hampered my lactation process, and it had affected the health of my child. And whatever I did was entirely a relactation process, I would say, because at the end of it, I was feeling that, somewhere my supply was affected, because we were deliberately, despite me lactating, we were giving formula to my child. So these were all the things. So basically, I would say that it was a very lonely struggle for me, and I would say I came out victorious. But it was because of the support group, the Facebook support group, the support that I got from the mothers, the doctors, and the lactation consultants there, and also talking to like-minded mothers. So these are all the things. And as I delve deeper into this issue, I feel that it is so much of a, first of all, medical issue, as I said, that there's hardly lectures on lactation, as far as my understanding and knowledge. I may be wrong here. It is also a social issue, because I feel sad that even today, like one day I fell sick in between, and I visited a physician, and he said that आपका बच्चा तो 12 महीने का हो गया है, 9 महीने में छुड़ा देना चाहिए दूध. I wonder that it is a magic potion, and why is it that we are so much against breastfeeding? Why is it a taboo now? This is why we are humans. We are mammals in the first place, because we breastfeed, right? So that is one thing. So I feel it is a social issue as well. Mothers look down upon if she feeds in the nurses in the public. All of these, it's a financial issue, or I will say it's an economic issue as well, because for me, for one whole year feeding a child a formula, I mean, I'm not an anti-formula mother, but still the kind of expenses that I would have to incur because giving formula to the child, despite knowing that I can breastfeed the child. So it is a financial issue as well. It's a medical, social issue. So basically, these are the struggles that I had went through, the initial struggles of bleeding nipples and, using syringes and nipple shield and pumping to extract out the nipple. I feel that had I got the right support when I was seeking it from the doctor, I would not have faced all of these things. The reason why I feel that it is a mental issue, because it's 1 year down the line, 14 months, and I still remember all those dialogues, all those gestures, right? All those not being supported kind of instances. So it did affect me mentally. I was lucky enough to get the right support at the right time. In fact, to dig out, to work harder and dig out all the details. And that's how I somehow balanced it, but it did affect me. So this is what I feel, that, the kind of supports, jo ek hota na, like Bipasha said, and I think even Priyanka mentioned that, once we give birth to baby, we are just confined within the four walls of our rooms. But, and as Sonali also said, that it takes a village to raise a child. I feel it takes a village to raise a mother, and a mother should be really raised. She should really be supported at the time, which is the most delicate, you can say the delicate phase of her life. So yeah, these were the things, Sonali, and I'm really glad that you gave me this platform to share my experience, and also how I coped with it, and the resources that really helped me out. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Rashmi. Breastfeed, not breastfeed, all those things, that it is not an easy path, and you rely on support of people around you. So first of all, I'm really sorry that you didn't get the support that you needed, and thank you so much for sharing your story. It was very, very it was disturbing, but also I'm sure a lot of women can relate to that. Thank you, 5 of you. You have no idea how many women you have helped by just sharing your story. This is what we need, is more women talking about, and men talking about how it is, how pregnancy and childbirth is not an easy time, and we need to talk about this. If you can't name it, you cannot treat it. So we really need to start this dialogue, and I hope we have started it today with you, with with the 5 of you, and I'm hoping more women will join as well. We have a listening circle every month at Haplocare. Come and talk about it. Feel lighter after you do it. So thank you so much, the 5 of you. Now I'll hand over to Shraddha, and she will take us through the next half of today's afternoon's program. Thank you again.
Thank you, Sonali. Yeah, thank you to all the mothers who came out and spoke about their difficult life experiences. I'm sure it will be of immense help to everyone who's listening on this. Now let's move on to the next part of the program. We have for you experts from various fields who will show us simple and time-efficient ways of looking after our mental health. So we also have, we first have our expert here, Raksha Bhide, who's an expert in perinatal yoga. So let me just.
Hi. Hello, everybody. Let me just share my screen. Am I audible?
Yes, you're audible.
Hello, everybody. I think the sharing circle's been great. Thanks to all of the brave women for sharing their stories. Before we get started, so I would like to talk about yoga today, the importance of yoga. Some of them also mentioned that in their sharing circles, they mentioned about yoga. I would like to emphasize the fact that yes, happy mommy is equal to a happy baby. Right. And before we begin, let's start with a very simple breathing practice. I invite all of you to join me to do this. So however you're sitting, so what we're going to be doing is rest our feet on the ground. So you can keep your feet on the ground, so it's touching the floor. If you're sitting on a chair, keeping your back straight, just roll the shoulders back once, keep your palms open on the thigh. Right, so what we're going to do is start with a simple practice of letting go. We've been soaking in a lot of information so far. So what we're going to do is breathe in through the nose as you are, gently. And as you're exhaling, you can just watch me. I'm going to exhale in 2 consecutive exhalations. One, a strong exhalation followed by a shorter and smoother exhalation. So I'm going to breathe in through the nose. Right. So I'm exhaling through the mouth, creating a sound as I exhale. One short, quick exhalation followed by a deeper exhalation. Let's do that for 3 more sets. So we breathe in deeply through the nose. Exhale completely to let go. Taking a nice and deep breath in through the nose. Exhale completely. Wonderful. From there, let's gently open our eyes. Okay, so now from sitting, let's just start with a simple stretch. I'll make you all come up to standing. I hope that you join me. If you are sitting on your chair, please feel free to join me for the practice. We'll just do a simple stretch and then sit back. So I'd invite you all to stand up, interlace your fingers, a very simple practice, but very effective for us. So bringing the palms together by the chest, you're going to inhale and lift your hands up. At the same time, lift your heels up completely to give a full body stretch as you breathe in. And as you exhale, slowly bringing the hand down towards the chest, bringing your heels down back here. Wonderful. Let's do this for 1 more time. So as you inhale, lifting your heels up, lifting the hands up all the way, biceps towards the ear, breathing in. And exhale, slowly coming down all the way, bringing the hand back to the chest. 1 more time, fix your eyesight at 1 point in front of you for balance. Inhale, lifting your heels up, lifting the hands up, give a nice full body stretch, breathing in. Exhale, slowly and gently coming back, rooting yourself back to the ground, hands on the chest, slowly release the hand down.
Keep your feet slightly apart, close your eyes. A simple practice, but see how you're feeling. The entire body, your arms, the back of your thighs, maybe your calf muscle. And from there, just see how the breath feels now. The breath might have become a little more stable, little more calmer. Let's take a nice and deep breath into the nose. Exhale through the mouth like blowing out a candle. Relax, wonderful. Let's slowly open our eyes. Let's come back to sitting. Wonderful. Thank you for joining me. All right, so I'm going to make a quick presentation where I hope to give you a little bit of information about evidence-based yoga during this entire period of pregnancy and postpartum, the do's and don'ts, whys and hows. Yes, so let's go ahead. So I'm going to talk about bringing yoga as an intervention. Now, there are two aspects to this. One is as a preventive strategy, where we had so many women talk about things. So how can yoga help me prevent developing any mental health condition, maybe depression, anxiety, or how I can do that? The other is as a treatment strategy. Now, if I have been diagnosed with something like this, then how I can use yoga as a tool in my treatment procedure, right? So we can look at yoga at two levels. One is during my conception and during my pregnancy, and one is post-birthing, that is referred to as postnatal period. Answering some of the very basic questions that people usually ask me is, when can I start yoga during pregnancy? So usually after consulting the gynecologist, once they do give us a green signal, usually it starts during the second trimester, that's the 4th month. Yes. And why is it important for me to practice? So we're looking at two aspects. Now, some of the important aspect with yoga is the connection between the body and the mind, right? So often I think the understanding when it comes to yoga is that it is understood as a physical exercise, or it's understood as something that I need to do to get myself in shape or reduce my weight. But yoga is much more than that. And the emphasis is a lot to do with mental health, with regard to mindfulness, and with regard to how we deal with our emotions. And so while yoga also helps us deal and help us in our physical health, because again, during pregnancy, there are different aspects. Physiologically, there are a lot of changes happening. Like Dr. Prabha was mentioning, maybe at risk for diabetes, hypertension. If a woman's going through PCOS when she's planning to conceive, then yoga certainly helps with these kind of physiological changes. It helps in strengthening our body, making us well prepared for the entire process of birthing, and also helps us deal with mental health challenges during this time. Right? We know that women are going through a lot of changes again during your pregnancy. There could be anxiety, there could be fatigue, there could be low mood, discomfort in sleep, insomnia. So it helps us connect better to our body and give us a sense of connection with ourselves, in mind. Yes, again, now when we look at the postpartum period, now it depends on what kind of birthing you've had, C-section, vaginal birthing, but usually we can, depending on the recovery post-delivery, again, it is safe absolutely to start within 45 days to 90 days postpartum. It helps you recover better in the entire postpartum journey, again, in physical recovery as well as emotional regulation, relaxation, which is often not spoken about. I think when it comes to maternal mental health, we kind of brush it down the carpet, saying, like a lot of you mentioned, right? Like maybe that's not really a big problem, that maybe you're just going through a change. It's not depression, it's not anxiety. So understanding what our emotional needs are at this moment. And yoga can be a great tool to help us manage our emotions better, help us with the lack of sleep that a lot of you were talking about, help us deal with regulating emotions, right, of anger, of guilt, because all of these are very real, that are not so often spoken about. And so let me take you through what an evidence-based yoga practice may look like. So this was also a part of my research, my PhD research. And here I would like to emphasize on how the practice of yoga essentially does not mean that I come on the mat for 1 hour, I move my body, and my practice is done. The intention is that this has to translate into the rest of your day. What are you taking back from on the mat to off the mat? Right? So the important component here is you'll start noticing how with practice, regular practice of yoga, even if it is body-based practices, there is a sense of awareness that develops where you're able to tap into your emotions a little more better. So once that kicks in, then the next time you're angry, next time you are maybe irritable, invariably you're at least aware that this is what I'm going through. So the entire practice is to create a deeper self of awareness. It could be, so these are the 3 categories that are important that have come about in my study is the practice aspect of it, which is physical practices, the breath work, the meditation. The aspect of counseling, because essentially yoga practice is not just physical. So we look at how the philosophy of yoga can address stress, low mood, anxiety, interpersonal relationships, and also certain lifestyle modifications of how it can help us enhance our sleep, diet, activities, bringing about a sense of moderation, because again, there is a lot of change that's happening during this period. All right, so again, curtailing practices, I think an important aspect is to practice it under a certified pre and postnatal yoga therapist, because every pregnancy is different, every body is different. So understanding somebody who understands that for you. I'm just giving you a glimpse of what the physical practice would look like, right? Where we looked at the first component. It includes physical postures, breathing practices, meditation, and all of these are safe. One thing I would like to emphasize is that at each timeline of your pregnancy or postpartum, the practices change and differ. So it's important to keep that in mind and practice with somebody who understands that. Overall, it's a great way to help us become stronger physically as well as emotionally. And there are different ways of practicing. So one could use props, one could use different kinds of supporting tools for their practice as well, and for restorative practices to deal with emotions. And certain practices can actually help in regulating certain emotions as well, because postures, again, the mind and body are so interconnected. So just to give you an example, if you are feeling very low, if you're feeling very tired, then you would notice that you are drooping, your spine is down, right? The body really is a reflection or a mirror of our mind. And so then we emphasize on practices that open up our chest to make you feel more in control, to make you feel more confident. So every posture is also linked with your emotion, and the practices are planned in such a way. There is a lot of research that is going on with regard to yoga during and after pregnancy and how it can impact our physical and mental health. One important aspect here is that I think to also understand that studies are showing how practicing yoga during your conception, during your prenatal journey, can have a huge impact on or can act as a cushioning and insulation on preventing development of depression or anxiety postpartum.
Raksha, hi. Sorry, we have 2 more minutes.
Sure. All right. So just to wrap up, I would say that the impact of yoga is on physical, mental health as both preventive and treatment strategies. Feel free to reach out to me if you have to, but I would like to take some time. This is the details of what I do, and you could reach out to me on LinkedIn or on WhatsApp. I would like to just take a few minutes here, just 2 minutes of your time to do a body awareness practice where I'd invite you to join me again to wind down. So as you're sitting, let's take a moment to close our eyes, sitting straight and tall. Again, roll your shoulders back, open the chest, keep your palm facing upward on the chair. Taking a moment there to close your eyes. Let your base of the spine touch your chair. So you're sitting back relaxed. The spine is on the chair, feet on the ground. As you stay here, becoming aware of your entire body. Becoming aware of your spine, the base of your spine. From the base of the spine, moving your awareness through the entire spine, all the way to the nape of the neck. Visualize that there is a thread moving through the entire spine and moving up through the crown of your head. From the base of the spine, this thread is moving down, pulling you towards the chair. And from the crown of the head, the thread is moving up, pulling you up towards the sky. There is a nice two-way force in this thread, lengthening your spine. As your spine lengthens, let's become aware of the breath flowing in and out. Don't change anything, just observe how you're breathing in and out. Your breath automatically would have become a little more deeper and slower. Let's bring our awareness to the tip of our nose. Become aware of the breath flowing in through the tip of the nose, going all the way down through the throat and reaching your chest beautifully. And as you're exhaling, tracing back your breath from the chest, coming back to the throat and out of your nostrils. Enjoying that slowness of your breath. This time we're going to add emotion with the breath. Each time you exhale, letting go of any emotion that's holding you back today. With every exhalation, choosing to let go any stress, sadness, anxiety, anger, guilt, whatever is weighing you down, letting it all out of your system as you breathe out. Allowing your body and mind to become lighter, freer. As you inhale, taking in all the love, energy, and calmness into yourself. Exhale to let go completely, allowing your body and mind to become lighter and freer. One more time. As you exhale, letting go. Relax completely. Let's slowly bring our awareness back and back and back towards the body, towards your spine. Become aware of your body. Slowly moving your fingers and toes, moving your neck gently from the left to right. Let's come back to the body. Taking a nice and deep breath in through the nose, exhale through the mouth. So let's slowly and gently open our eyes with a few blinks. Thank you for joining.
Thank you so much, Raksha. This was a very relaxing session. There is one question for you. So Dr. Namit Gautam wants to ask you, why is yoga not advised in the first trimester?
Okay, so with regard to physical movements, we could start yoga in the first trimester, but it would be focused on a lot of relaxation and a lot of breath work, because physical movement would still be something that we would have to consult the gynecologist, understand, and then practice. And during the first trimester, usually it's advised that we don't indulge in a lot of intense physical workout, which is why the physical postures could be tailor-made and kept aside.
Okay. Okay, I hope that answers your question, Dr. Namit. Thank you so much, Raksha. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Okay. So coming to our next expert, we have Dr. Aruna Savur talking about breastfeeding and emotional health. Over to you, Dr. Aruna. I'll just unmute you.
Hi, can you hear me? Am I audible?
Sorry. Yes, you're audible.
Okay. Good afternoon. I'm so honored to be here with all of you today. And my name is Dr. Aruna. I'm a pediatrician and a board certified lactation consultant. And I'm in private practice here in Bangalore. I'm just going to share my screen and you need to tell me if it's visible.
Yes, it's visible.
Okay. So my presentation today is breastfeeding and all the emotions that it can evoke. Expectations of breastfeeding in pregnancy can look like this really beautiful picture called Breastfeeding Venus. So pregnant parents think that breastfeeding is natural and it's so easy and it just flows. And, there are actually two types of parents. One set go to all the breastfeeding and childbirth classes that they can go to and are theoretically on top of things. And then you have another kind of parent who told me, breastfeeding is automatic, so why should I prepare for it? I thought I just hold the baby close to me, the baby latches and my milk flows like a fountain, easy. And also in our society, there's an identification of breastfeeding with motherhood. Wherever there's a new baby, there are just two questions usually, and it is how's the baby breastfeeding or how's the baby sleeping? It's only when I certified as a lactation consultant that I sensitized myself to even look at the mother and ask her, how are you doing today? So most parents, when they're pregnant, also set breastfeeding goals. They think I'm going to feed my baby for 6 months, and then I'm going to pump, and then my partner will bottle feed the baby. Or that I'm going to do exclusive breastfeeding, at least for the first year or the first 2 years of life, like the WHO recommends. And most times, and I have seen mothers or parents who are lucky enough to have a very smooth breastfeeding journey, and they meet all their goals. But sometimes reality hits, life happens, and breastfeeding goals and expectations can be totally derailed. This can happen for hundreds of reasons. So it could be maybe poor health in the mother in pregnancy, poor metabolic health. So in our listening circle, I heard a couple of mothers talk about PCOS, or it could be something structural in the mother. One mother was talking about inverted nipples. So that's a big red flag that you are going to have a rocky breastfeeding journey. It could also be the kind of birth that you had. Maybe it was traumatic. Maybe it was very medicalized and instrumental. What happens to the baby after birth? Are they separated from you? Are they premature and in the NICU? Or do they have a medical condition where they cannot come to the breast and feed? Or is it something structural where when they come to the breast, it really hurts and you're in tears all the time? Or is it just that you cannot produce enough milk for whatever reason? So the hormone that drives breastfeeding is called oxytocin, and it helps with your letdown. It's also called the hormone of love and connection and rest and regeneration and sleep. So what happens when you have a breastfeeding trouble? What happens when you're in tears all the time and you're afraid that the baby is going to wake up, because that means you're going to have to bring the baby to the breast and they're going to cause you a lot of pain? What if you're in tears all the time and you don't know what's happening and you're going from one healthcare provider to the other with your little one, hoping for some kind of answers? So when you're not able to meet your breastfeeding goals, your expectation that breastfeeding is something natural and automatic comes crashing down, and it can be very shocking, very traumatic. And unfortunately, this really happens quite a few times. So Dr. Amy Brown is a professor of public health in Swansea University. She is also a mental health professional. So she conducted some research a few years ago. She posted on Twitter a question. Dear parent, if you have not met your breastfeeding goals, please answer 4 questions that I'm going to put to you. And she was absolutely deluged by thousands of responses. And it took her the better part of 2 years to kind of go through all the responses that she was getting and to compile them into a book. So the rest of my presentation is going to borrow heavily from Dr. Amy Brown's presentation and research. And I'm also going to talk about the 4 questions that she put forward to her audience. And I would really appreciate it if you, my dear friends, if you are resonating with the questions, and if it evokes a certain emotion in you and that you're able to put it into the chat, I would really appreciate it. So this was her first question. She asked, how did you feel when you could not breastfeed for as long as you wanted to? If my friends today here with me in the webinar can just put in the chat how they felt. I'm sure we heard a lot of mothers talking in the listening circle about the frustration and the grief. And if you just want to put it into the chat, you're welcome to do it. And I'm going to go to the next slide. So this was how Dr. Amy Brown kind of classified the responses that she got. She said that guilt was the predominant emotion. And the people who responded to her, their babies, the age range was from about 3 weeks after birth. And one person had a child who was now 23 years old, but the guilt was still fresh for everyone. There's a lot of anger, especially in the initial days, and then it turned into sadness. So what Dr. Amy Brown says is grief at the loss of a relationship which you had anticipated is normal, but sometimes it can turn into complex emotions which look like intrusive thoughts. You're all the time thinking of why could I not breastfeed, or avoiding, the very thought of breastfeeding, avoiding your friends who are breastfeeding, avoiding maybe certain articles in the media, or negative associations in the mood. You're irritable all the time. You're aggressive. You can't sleep. You can't eat. You can't concentrate. So I heard all of these signs in so many mothers in the listening circle today. So what was recommended is the kind of support a mother needs is based on the kind of emotion that she feels. The second question was, who were your negative emotions directed towards when you could not meet your breastfeeding goals, and who do you blame? So I'd like to see some responses. And remembering back to the listening circle, I know that there's a lot of anger towards the healthcare professionals for not being informed, for not being open, for not referring when they did not know what help they could offer to the parent. So these are the responses that Dr. Amy Brown got. So it's very sad when you see a mother crying and blaming herself. So generally they tend to ask, is it something I did in pregnancy? Do you think I should have taken better care of my own health? Is it the kind of birth that I had? Do you think I should have tried harder for a vaginal or a normal delivery? Is it something that I did after the baby was born? Because I didn't know I had to take the baby to the breast so often. Do you think that was the reason my milk volumes came down? Is it because formula was given to my baby? Because I was in so much pain, I could not breastfeed. Is it some particular food I ate or I did not eat? So there's so much self-flagellation going on that it's really heart-rending. The second level of blame is usually towards the health professionals. So most of the parents I meet say that, they did not get the kind of support that they anticipated, that mostly it was maybe nurses who maybe were not too knowledgeable, who were too busy with other things, or there were too many births on that particular day, so they could not come in and feed. And they also said that every health professional they met had different messages to give, that there was no consistency across the kind of information that they were getting at all. Family and friends, to some extent, what I see in this new generation of parents is the partner is always super supportive. So I've never seen a mother blaming her partner, but sometimes it could be the extended family with their old-fashioned, advice, as I heard one mother say in the listening circle. The amount of blame for their own body, that is also very saddening. There is some blame for the formula, in the sense they say, was the formula given too early? Because everyone in the hospital said, my baby's crying too much, maybe they're hungry, they're losing weight, you're not able to breastfeed, you're not having milk, therefore give the formula. Some of them said that their friends and relatives who also had babies at the same time were able to breastfeed, and they felt so envious and jealous of their success, where their breastfeeding goals had fallen by the wayside. And also sometimes it comes to the point where you wonder if the baby, there's something wrong with the baby. There are many parents who ask me, why is my baby not able to breastfeed when every other baby can? Why does my baby hate me so much? Why does my baby cry when they come to the breast? So all these are really heart-rending. The next question was, why are these emotions stronger than the other emotions associated with breastfeeding? So these were the responses. I think all of these tie actually to my first slide, where we talked about the expectation of breastfeeding in pregnancy. Because we think it's a physiological nature. Feeding is so fundamental. And if you don't get that right, you feel like such a failure. And the timing, it's the first thing that you can do for your baby. So it's the first mom guilt that you have to endure. And then there's the expectation. And generally so many demands on how it should be, how breastfeeding should be. The other question she asked was to the parents who had not met their breastfeeding goals. She asked them, what can we do to help now? How can we promote breastfeeding without making others feel worse and to provoke arguments? So the responses here were very interesting. So she found that 10% of the people who responded said they didn't want to have anything to do with breastfeeding, that it had traumatized them for life. But then a bigger majority said that having gone through the horrors that they had gone through, they wanted better support, that the mothers who came after them would have a smoother path. So one of their suggestions was better support for breastfeeding. So when I talk of this, I remember one of the mothers in the listening circle who felt completely let down by her gynecologist and her pediatrician. So many mothers in the study suggested that there should be a uniform level of understanding of breastfeeding education across the levels of health professionals. It could be from the head of department right down to the receptionist, that everyone has to give the same message. And also the same quality of support for breastfeeding. So sometimes there are structural issues, say tongue-tied, which as a pediatrician, I will be very frank that my education did not prepare me for recognizing or recommending treatment for a tongue-tie. It is now mostly the realm of, say, a lactation consultant. So why cannot other other health professions also be educated so that the parent can get support or treatment in a very timely fashion? Another suggestion they made for better support was most breastfeeding classes paint breastfeeding as very easy, as very natural. That is something that happens very normally, very automatically. So what these parents suggested was, don't paint that breastfeeding is easy. Say breastfeeding is not easy, but it is worth working towards. So those were their suggestions for a better support for breastfeeding. They then wanted also the messaging or the wording on formula or artificial milk to be changed. So what they said was breast is best is a message which is blazoned across all social media, papers, especially in breastfeeding week, and even on the tin of formula. So when a mother who has had to leave her breastfeeding goals by the side, for whatever reason, could not breastfeed the child, and now has to prepare formula milk for the baby, each time she opens the tin, the first thing that stares at her is breast is best. And they said that it kind of increased their guilt that they were not doing the best that they could for the baby. The third suggestion was to recognize challenges of breastfeeding and to recognize that all challenges cannot be supported. And also to increase the amount of, say, research funding to find out why some mothers cannot breastfeed at all. Then they also wanted to, for everyone to recognize the emotions of not being able to breastfeed. So I've seen parents in my clinic, the baby is on formula and the mother is crying and the partner says, I don't know why she's crying, doctor. The baby is healthy and doing well, but she's just crying all the time. So what these mothers wanted was a division of their emotion. They're happy, yes, that the baby is healthy and is fed, but also they wanted to mourn the loss of their breastfeeding goals. They wanted to be seen, they wanted to be heard, they wanted to be told that, yes, you tried your best, you did everything that you could, but breastfeeding alone does not identify you as a good mother. There are other ways that you can do that. And they also wanted that formula not be demonized so much. Their last suggestion was to consider how formula feeding moms are supported. There are lots of groups for support of breastfeeding mothers, but none for mothers who have to feed formula, not by maybe by choice, but maybe by circumstance also. And here I just want to talk of myself in my early days as a lactation consultant in a busy corporate hospital where there were lots of births. And there was one mother who had had a baby by surrogate and had chosen to give her baby formula with a bottle. I did not visit that mother at all. When I think back, I'm just racked with guilt because that mother really needed support. She needed to know how to bottle feed the baby, how to prepare the formula, the other ways of mothering, how to baby wear the baby, to do skin to skin, to read the baby's cues, maybe to learn about massage. So that kind of brings me to the end of my presentation. And I just want to say that the feelings when breastfeeding does not go well are very strong and they tend to stay for long. And, they can pervade and color the relationship of the parent to themselves, to their baby, to their partner, to their family, and to society at large. And they are deserving not only of quality breastfeeding support, but also of quality mental health support as and when needed. So here I'm just mentioning 3 resources which have really worked for my mothers. One is called the Green Oak Initiative with Dr. Ashleisha Bagadia. The other is the Doula Collective. And I want to give a special shout out to Mary Suma. You can find her at Mom Bliss on Instagram, who's a postpartum doula and does really fantastic birth debriefing, where you just talk, where you kind of rent your heart out. You vent about all the problems that you have had, and she really supports the mother. She gives them space. That brings me to the end of my presentation, and thank you everyone for a very patient listening.
Thank you so much, Dr. Aruna. It was a very nice presentation. It stirred quite a lot of comments in the comment section here. And women are quite resonating with the emotions of guilt and sadness, and that accompanies not being able to breastfeed. Thank you so much. So our next expert is Poornima Mahindru. She is a clinical psychologist and psychotherapist, and she will be talking to us about various techniques to cope with mental health issues. She's also a part of the Green Oak Initiative. So are you here?
Hi.
Yeah.
Yes.
Hi. Yeah.
Hi, good afternoon. So it's a pleasure to be part of this summit, and thanks for inviting me. And I'll be talking about anxiety during the perinatal phase and various ways to cope and manage the anxiety during that period. So if I may share this screen. So yeah, so like I think like even the listening circle was talking about, a lot of mothers were talking about various experience of these. So I'm sure a lot of mothers in this group will find these statements very familiar, that will I be able to take care of my baby well? Is my baby kicking enough? Is my baby growing well? My career is going to take a back seat. Am I doing any of this right? Is the baby going to be okay? What if tomorrow is worse? So this, I'm sure a lot of mothers in this group or in attending the webinar will be able to resonate with these statements. And it's not unnatural to go through these statements of, feel these statements, because perinatal period itself, starting from the conception to antenatal period to postpartum period, it's full of uncertainties, especially for the first time mothers. It's like a new experience altogether. No one knows what to expect. So for some, first 3 months are physically exhaustive. For some, it's like a breeze. No one knows like immediately if like the labor is going to be going to go through a natural delivery, or they are going to land into C-section. So every day it comes with a lot of uncertainties, and that causes a lot of anxiety. So it's natural to be going through anxiety. However, when anxiety actually becomes disabling, dysfunctional, it takes form of intrusiveness. It starts impacting the day-to-day activities. It's keeping you preoccupied all the time. Then it's a state of worry, and that becomes a dysfunctional anxiety. So the prevalence rate of the anxiety is anywhere between 5.1% to 37.5% during antenatal and postpartum period, where the mothers or anyone going through this perinatal phase requires professional help. So when we talk about anxiety, some of the signs, some of the red warning flags that all of you have to keep in mind is when the thoughts are worrying, that they keep on coming into your mind, they become intrusive. You're always occupied with the thought that if something is going to go wrong with your baby, or it takes a form of panic attacks, like outbursts of extreme fear and panic that take over your body and you feel out of control, or you're constantly feeling restless, over the edge, and irritable. Sometimes you end up having some kind of physiological symptomology, like feeling tension in your muscles, tightness in your chest. Then it is a time where you feel that you require the professional help. All these red warning signs, what it ends up leading into, some kind of physiological discomfort. It might end up impacting your sleep. It might, or mentally, like where you're seeking reassurance again and again, either from your doctor or from your partner, or you end up avoiding certain activities. For example, like if you're pretty anxious about taking care of your child and you feel underconfident and you're always anxiety if you will do a mistake, if you will be a good enough mother or not. So there can be an avoidance, like you end up avoiding feeding your child, or like I think Dr. Aruna was talking about the breastfeeding. So when you feel rejected by your infant, when they are not able to latch instantly, then you might be quite anxious that what if they will be able to take the feed next time. So when this anxiety keep on growing, then again it becomes a proper red warning sign. Now there are various risk factors when we talk about the anxiety, that it's not as I was telling you, that every anxiety is not an anxiety which you should be worried about, but certain risk factors definitely makes you feel much more vulnerable to experience this kind of an anxiety. If before conceiving or before getting pregnant, you do have an history of anxiety, or you have vulnerable personality traits which puts you at risk. Family history of anxiety, where other family members or during their postpartum period or in their life, they have gone through some kind of a mental health issue or anxiety. first-time parenthood, because it's a very unknown territory. You don't know what to expect. There's a lot of suggestions going on. There's a lot of material online, a lot of suggestions from gynecologists, from your family members. So that creates a lot of anxiety because you are bombarded with loads of different experiences and suggestions. A history of trauma itself, it can be in form of some kind of a abuse, child sexual abuse, it can be form of some kind of a sexual dysfunction. So, or it can, or even interpersonal partner violence. So all these trauma play a major role in developing anxiety. As Dr. Prabha was mentioning earlier in the start of the summit, like, even the obstetric trauma can create a lot of anxiety in mothers, like if they have a trauma in terms of in dealing with different healthcare workers, that itself can be trigger or a precipitating factor of anxiety. Rainbow baby. So what rainbow baby means is like when any mother has history of miscarriage or stillbirth or a loss of a baby in the past, then they are more vulnerable to be much more anxious, because they are much more worried if this pregnancy will be successful or not. They are much more careful. They are much more hypervigilant. That puts them at risk of becoming much more anxious. If the mother has a history of substance abuse, or they're still on substances, like it can be nicotine, it can be alcohol, or different other kinds of drugs, that again makes them much more anxious, and that is carried over during their antenatal and postpartum period. And excessive stress in day-to-day life activities, because nowadays, like, every mother is trying to maintain a work-life balance, and they end up working, like, throughout the antenatal period. So it's not easy to balance both their mental, physical health, and plus the responsibilities given at the workplace. So that again, instills a lot of anxiety and stress in to-be mothers or new mothers. So now, because as we are talking about stress, as we are talking about anxiety, so what to do when you experience these red flags? What to do when all these anxiety symptoms you experience? So I think, like, in the listening circle, even Dr. Prabha was mentioning and Dr. Aruna was mentioning about to have a good support system. So support system is not only in form of, a platform where a lot of people get together and they have a shared experience. Support system also is in terms of to communicate with your partner, because anxiety physiologically itself can feel different, because when we talk about pregnancy, when we talk about motherhood, it's a very glorified term, and it's like a notion that it's a period where mother is the happiest. It's like it's a blessing and it's an amazing journey. So it also instills a lot of guilt when any mother feels something different. For example, when mother feels that, okay, they're unable to understand the cues of the child, they don't know what's happening with them, what's happening with the child. So it's important to talk it out, because a lot of mothers actually end up holding all these emotions back because they feel that they are not supposed to feel it like this. They need to feel it differently. So it is very, very important to talk it out, either with your partner or with your friends, or even to be more curious about, especially when you're first-time mother, to address all the curiosities, all the questions with your gynecologist, with your pediatrician, even if you feel it's the stupidest of the question, because no question, no curiosity is stupid. And more you will end up getting answers to your curiosities, the more and more relieved you will feel, and the more and more self-critical you will be. Another one is mindfulness. I think it's talked a lot about, even Raksha was talking about, when we talk about yoga, when we talk about meditation. So something similar in terms of mindfulness, where you exercise certain activities where you need to be present in the moment. For example, when we talk during the antenatal period, so you don't have to take out some time or 10-15 minutes just to carry out mindfulness exercises. It can be in simpler steps. For example, during antenatal period, like just feeling, your baby bump, or just when you're buying clothes or when you're buying stuff for the children, just feeling those stuff, just noticing the pattern of the clothes, and just to see, like, how you're feeling. And even some like specified mindfulness techniques like mindful breathing, where you are just focusing on your breath without any judgment. You are just letting your thoughts come, just noticing those thoughts and just letting it go. So it's a technique where you are trying to be present in the moment, not getting into the anticipatory anxiety without any judgment. The third is journaling. So that's one of the most important technique in order to manage our anxiety, because this is a way where you can actually write about your thoughts, your emotions without any judgment. So it is very helpful when you actually try doing it, like, have a dedicated time, let's say 5 to 10 minutes in a day, where you are just putting your thoughts and emotions in the journal. And it's not about writing the facts, like what happened in a day, but how you felt in the day. What were the thoughts that were making you happy? What were the thoughts that were making you sad or anxious? It also gives, because especially during pregnancy, when a lot of mothers are going through that guilt that they cannot feel this way, they cannot think negative. It's a blasphemy to think negative, and they are not ready to seek professional help. So this is a very good mode where they can just journal their thoughts and feelings and express themselves. And it also helps, like, because it's a visual mode, and whenever they are reading that thought, they are able to identify the pattern they are falling into. And in lieu of that, sometimes they are able to talk themselves out of it, and they are able to discriminate how rational and irrational thoughts there are. And also there are times when they're able to accept the emotions they are feeling while journaling. Another one is relaxation exercises. So a couple of relaxation exercises which are actually pretty helpful in this whenever you're feeling anxious, not only during antenatal or postpartum period, but generally as well. One is square breathing, where we teach the mothers or teach anyone who's being anxious to hold their breath on the count of 4, and then pause their breath on the count of 4, then release their breath on the count of 4, and then breathe in. So probably, like, repeating the cycle again and again for around 10 times is pretty helpful. So you start from like 5 sets in a day, and then like gradually building it up. Another kind of relaxation technique which you can do on your own is abdominal breathing, where the mothers or any person who's feeling anxious is taught to keep one hand at the chest and one hand at the abdomen, where we teach them to actually breathe it through the diaphragm rather than from their chest. So basically, again, on the count of 4, you can actually inhale from your diaphragm, where you can actually feel your hand moving in with the inhalation, and you can actually exhale it through the mouth while opening it, and then you can actually feel your chest going on. So this again with a count of 5. So whichever is comfortable for you, whichever you feel it's going to help you, or you feel comfortable with, is something that you can incorporate. So all these things which I just talked about is about what you can do it by yourself. But if all these things are not helping, by consistently actually working around with them, or talking, or incorporating in your day-to-day activities, that also means that you require professional help. So professional help is available in 2 forms. Either it's in psychotherapy form, which is usually carried out by psychotherapists, counselors, or pharmacotherapy, which is generally carried out by psychiatrists. There is good enough evidence, like both of these professional helps are safe and they help. because ultimately what we need to see is what is beneficial for you as a mother and for the baby as well. So if mother is healthy, baby will be healthy, because there is like, if you are anxious and if your anxiety is taking forms like depression or different kinds of anxieties like OCD, as like someone was mentioning in the listening circle as well, it can be harmful not only for you, but it can also disrupt the care towards the infant as well, which can have long lasting different kind of.
Hi, Poornima.
Yeah, I'll
2
yes,
minutes.
yeah, sure. So which can have long lasting impact in terms of their cognitive and social development. So I would like to end my session by talking about some don'ts, because whenever we try, because I have heard a lot of my clients talking about whenever they try expressing about how they are feeling, the first response, with all the good intentions, their support system says, you should not feel stressed, it will affect the baby. Even sometimes healthcare professionals sometimes end up saying, don't take stress. And even when they are a little bit stressed, that creates much more stress and anxiety, because their sudden thought is, oh, it might impact the baby. But what we really need to do is help validate what they are feeling and help them manage it. So use of shoulds and must should be prohibited, as if you're like one of the support system of the new mother, so that they can feel more empowered to deal with the anxiety and the negative cognitions they are going through. So thank you. That was from my end. Any questions?
Thank you so much, Poornima. It was a really succinct and informational sort of presentation. Can we go back to the...
Shraddha, sorry to interrupt. There is one question by Vikasni for Poornima. So the question is, are there any contraindications for these breathing activities?
So as of now, there are no contraindications for these breathing activities. It's just that you might have to be very mindful about doing it slowly and gradually, rather than just short and sudden breaths. That is not recommended, but both abdominal and square breathing has to be done very slowly and gradually. That's the only thing that you have to keep in mind.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Poornima. Let's go to the next speaker. We have Jyoti Sharma. Like I said, she's a music therapist, and she will be teaching us about how to use music therapy to deal with mental health issues. Over to you, Jyoti. Yeah.
Now, can you hear me?
Yeah, you are audible.
Great. So many thanks and many congratulations to Haplocare, and you guys are doing a wonderful job. And let's start my presentation. So I have, I am going to be very interactive, and quickly we'll just go through the concept. What is music therapy, right? So what is music therapy? Oh, by the way, I'm Jyoti Sharma, and I'm a psychologist and a music therapist. I'm the founder of Music Therapy India. So let's talk about music therapy. And I'm sure you, all the mothers, and to be, who are planning to be, to conceive, and the newborn mothers. So I'm sure you all are always interested to use the sideline modalities. Music is such thing that you can always, impart in your day-to-day life. So I'm going to explain how music therapy can, very simple techniques can be used to promote your emotional, physical, mental well-being. So let's talk about perinatal music therapy. It refers to the use of music therapy techniques during the prenatal, childbirth, and postnatal periods to promote well-being and improve outcomes for both mother and baby. It can include various musical instruments such as singing, playing the instruments, listening to music, and creating music together. So when I'm saying creating music together, it can be with any person. And specifically, yes, when we do the therapy session, then we generally do, it can be individual, it can be group, and primarily we are doing what we are doing as a music therapist. We are using musical elements like हम बोलते हैं सुर लय ताल. So अगर हम हिंदी में बोले तो उसको सुर लय ताल बोलते हैं. Western music में we have 7 elements of music like pitch, rhythms, melody, form, dynamic. So like that. What are we supposed to do with them? So we use different patterns of music as per the client's need. A pregnant mother would need something else, but the newborn mother, the mother of a newborn would need something else. This is a completely client-centered approach. And what benefits you are going to get from the perinatal music therapy? It reduces stress. It works on the anxiety level because almost all the expectant mothers are somewhat, in the duration of the pregnancy, they get anxious. And curiosity and anxiety comes together. It promotes relaxation, creates a positive emotional environment for the baby. So it's very good that if you sing to your child, I always promote singing as a daily activity for everyone. So, and it also manages the pain and it reduces the childbirth anxiety as well. So there are many benefits, many benefits. You can, if you talk about the emotional well-being, talk about the mental health, physical health-being, and it also promotes the development of language and social skills in infants while you sing to the child. And of course, most of the people have talked about the postpartum depression. So it reduces the symptoms of postpartum depression and anxiety in new mothers. Okay, so what are the techniques we are going to use? So very simple. The first one would be the listening, right? So I'm sure almost all the mothers listen some kind of music. What kind of music to be listened? So very soft music, and which is full of positivity, and we all can judge it, isn't it? We all can make out what kind of songs are positive to us and the baby. Then singing to the baby is very, very important. Today we are going to do an activity that includes creating a song together, and it's going to be very interactive. Now I need your responses. Okay, so right now we have just a minute. Let's be active on the chat. No, I'm not going to show any slides actually. This is just a presentation. I just wanted to introduce myself. But yes, I'm going to use further. I'll be writing a song with you, with all the mothers here, right? Would-be mothers and the mothers who are still, who are the mothers of newborn or toddlers. Now I want you to give some beautiful inputs. Let's create a lullaby, okay? Okay, so let's be interactive, guys. I want beautiful words so that we all can create a beautiful lullaby together. So basically what I mean, there's a technique called songwriting in music therapy. and we all are going to create a song together. Okay, peace and calm. Smile. Kind. Happiness, loving, love. Courage, very good. Unconditional love, okay. Bonding. Great. Okay, guys, kindly consider this as a lullaby. So we are going to create a lullaby. So what do you think? What kind of words or what kind of lyrics should be there in a lullaby? Bliss, care, touch. Okay. Safe. What else? I thought someone will say sleep also. Hey baby, I'm your safe place. Wow. Cute. What else? Go to sleep. Very nice. Dreams, sweet dreams, strength, and keep an eye on me. All right. One more thing I want to add in here. Maybe your lyrics will definitely get affected in a positive way. So this lullaby is for the mother. This lullaby is going to be for the mother. Mommy, Mimi, you are in me, I feel you. That's something I wanted. Yes. Not alone, my strength. Let us both go to sleep. Wonderful. I'm enough. Beautiful. Let us meet in dreams. Why not in real? You are stronger than you think. Baby, I will always be with you. Mom, you complete me every day, every time. That's so beautiful. I think you already can write a beautiful song. We are growing every day. Thank you for being the reason for me to take care of myself. Yes. All right. Hoping it's be all okay. Yes. Together stronger each day, each phase. Waiting to see your smiling face. Let's not listen to others. Let's be in our cute little love world. Okay, baby. All right. Yes, enough of responses now. And thank you so much for giving such responses. I fly with you over the clouds. Very nice. Okay. Now, so I want you to sit back wherever you're sitting, sit back, relax. And we have, by the way, we have done enough of relaxations, but since it's music and relaxations, it goes together. Okay, so sit back, relax, and let's do deep breathing first, 5-6 times deep breathing. So breathing in, inhaling slowly and holding your breath, and then from mouth you will exhale. This is how, one can calm down. So the words I was expecting, yes, you all are close to it. the responses I got. So what I did, meanwhile I created a song when I was waiting for my turn, and eventually I think let's see how you feel after hearing it. And I really want you to, once I start singing that song, I created it, and after singing that song, while I sing, you have to relax, you have to calm down, but you also have to move, right? Sitting, but moving. Like you're sitting back and you're swaying your body slowly. Okay? Yes, my song is going to take another 5 minutes. Okay, so I'm going to put the lyrics in front of you now. So this is the first para or the verse of the song. Shraddha, can you please assist me with this? If you can hear the music now.
Yes, I could.
Is this quite clear with my voice?
No, no, no. I can't hear the music anymore. I could hear the first few. Oh,
Now?
yeah.
I'm hoping that you all are swaying on your seats. Let's move the body. Let's move your body. Close your eyes, my dear. Close your eyes, my dear. Feel your breath, slow and clear. Close your eyes, my dear. Feel your breath, slow and clear. As you rest your weary head, let your worries be put to bed. Close your eyes, my dear. Hush now, my love. Let the night embrace you. As you dream of the little one. Going inside you. Feel the warmth of your womb as you carry your little one. Touch your ring
Hush now, my love. Hush now, my love. Let the night embrace you. As you dream of the little one, growing inside you. Close your eyes, my dear. Yeah,
Thank
so
you, Jyoti.
hope you're feeling,
It was a really
hope
nice
you're
session.
feeling better.
Definitely,
Thank you
definitely.
so much.
Thank you. Okay, I
Thank you,
am.
everyone. Thank you, everyone, for joining.
So I am going to give it over to Sonali now.
Thank you, Shraddha, and thank you, Jyoti. I really enjoyed the calming music. It really calmed me down. And what I got from your session is that you could essentially create your own lyrics and also, you know, make your own song. So that's a very good way of approaching this. Okay, so the next one that I will, the next topic and the next talk we have is by Dr. Prabha Chandra. Dr. Prabha Chandra doesn't need any introduction, but I'm honored to do it anyway. I will just give a, you can look at her CV anywhere, so I will not go through the CV, but what I will talk about is my interactions with her and how I got to know about her. So when I thought about starting something like Haplocare, the first person that came to my mind was Dr. Prabha Chandra, because I Googled and I found out, and it was amazing how much she has been a champion of perinatal mental health. It's not only in India, but internationally as well. She has created both inpatient and outpatient, the first inpatient and outpatient facility in Nimhans, and also the mother baby unit, which I was privileged to visit some weeks back, actually. And I think the biggest contribution she's made to perinatal mental health is the network that she has created. The network both inside of India and outside. She just received the Marse medal, which is the highest medal you can give to anyone who's working in this field. But just the network that she has created is I think the best way to move forward in doing something meaningful in this area. So I will not speak anymore, but I will hand it over to Dr. Prabha Chandra, who will talk about when and how we can seek help from a therapist. Please go ahead.
Yes, thank you, Sonali. It's been a wonderful afternoon, and I'm aware that we are winding up at 5 p.m. and all of you are busy mums and professionals. So, I have about 6 minutes to talk, and which is just a beginning of this conversation with everyone, really, because I think through the platform, through the collaboration that Nimhans has with Haplocare, I think we are going to do a lot more and take this movement forward. So I think one of the things that Sonali wanted me to speak about was, when do women really need to seek help? And we heard the stories today about, the first step is being aware that you have a problem, that you're not coping well. The second step is trying to get support from family members, from peers, from Google, from Facebook, from all the sort of little networks that you have, and trying to see whether they can help you. And then probably going to your obstetrician or your pediatrician, as the case may be, and trying to get help from there. And it's only later that I think people actually think of meeting a mental health professional. Usually people would meet a counselor first, and then a therapist, and probably, it's only when they feel they really need medication that they would actually meet a psychiatrist like myself, which I think is the way to go, really, because informal sources of support are known to be very helpful at the first stage for everybody. And I think all of us need that support. Like I love that quote, whoever made it, about how a mother needs a village, like how a child needs a village to survive and thrive. So I think the key thing to remember is, while you're seeking all these supports, while you're accessing informal methods of care, it's important to recognize certain times in your journey of motherhood where you might want to see a professional. And of course, Dr. Poornima also highlighted that it's, and all the wonderful speakers from the listening circle talked about how there was a point where they kind of knew I needed to see a professional. But you also recognize, and we also recognize, the limitations that the professionals have, that we don't have a magic wand to solve all the problems, even as a mental health professional. And for, I think it was, I'm not sure who it was, but somebody said about identify your unmet needs. So some of your needs may be met by your colleagues, your friends, your listening circle. Some of it may be met by a professional. Not all needs may be met by a professional. So I think it's important to recognize that when you're not functioning okay, when there's so much anxiety, when there's sadness, and we also heard that, while there's a lot of stuff going around on postpartum depression, the importance that pregnancy or postpartum anxiety should receive has not got enough attention. And we find that more women come to us with anxiety much more than depression. Though because they're so anxious, they also get depressed. I also want to give a shout out to non-childbearing parents, because I think it's very important that we recognize needs of non-childbearing parents. We also need to recognize needs of parents who may not, of moms who may not have a baby, or who may have had a pregnancy loss, early, late. All of these women, will need help. So we're looking at a broad variety of women who need support. And I think the time that you feel that informal sources of help, talking to people, finding things from Google, using all the techniques that you're using, is not really helping. You're not able to function. You're not able to take care of yourself or your baby. The thoughts in your mind are just overwhelming you. You're not able to work. You're not able to sleep. You're not able to eat. I think these are the situations where you really need to think whether I need to see a mental health professional. Also, of course, we all know the risk. If you're feeling like, what's the point of living? I mean, we heard in the listening circle that there were points in desperation where women thought, let's just finish this. This is just too overwhelming. So I think those are the situations where you need to see, a professional. Now, me having said that is very simple, see a professional. But how do you go to a professional? How do you recognize that this is a professional who will give you the right advice? We heard about all kinds of sort of not very helpful advice which was given by professionals. How do I know that this particular psychiatrist understands mothers and will not judge me or will not diminish my fears and, all my concerns that I have? How do I know that this psychiatrist will not just side with my mother who has completely different ideas, or my husband, and, view me as this dysfunctional person? So I think it's also about trying to choose somebody who you think is aware, is knowledgeable, knows about perinatal mental health. Because it is true that, like all pediatricians are not adept at lactation support, or not all obstetricians can be very helpful if you're terribly anxious. Not all mental health professionals are equally aware about perinatal mental health. So I think for this reason, along with Haplocare, we have created a network of psychiatrists, psychologists at this point, but we are moving towards counselors, couple therapists who actually can support women with perinatal mental health problems, and who have some sort of training, who understand what the issues are. So I think that's key. Always also go with people who have already had experience with somebody and can recommend that person. Like the queer community has something called a pink list. That is, they recommend people who you should go to. So I think the mother should have their own little list, which will give them an idea about who is a perinatal friendly or trained psychiatrist or a psychologist or a mental health professional. And right now, I think the sort of what is very, very nice that in India we have a huge number of perinatal mental health professionals available across the country who are actually very keen and are trained to help. So, Haplocare will help with that, and we'll try and see that we connect you with these people. Some of them are in public health service, so if people can't afford it, we heard that, sometimes expenses are very high. Everybody can't afford a therapist fees. So you have therapists who may actually give you discounts or have a sliding scale. You might, you may ask a therapist, do I really need to see a psychiatrist? Or, is it okay if I continue to see you because my anxiety is so overwhelming? Because I have patients who are seeing a psychiatrist, seeing a psychotherapist, but they also need short, brief, period of having, seeing a psychiatrist for medication. So I think these are issues that we can discuss with each other and make resources available to women so that they know that they're going to the most reliable people. Sometimes moms can have very sort of disturbing, intrusive thoughts. We heard about, another person from the listening circle who talked about OCD, obsessive compulsive thoughts, which can be very, very disturbing to women. Sometimes the thoughts are about themselves, sometimes the thoughts are about the baby. These might need medication. So I think we have to be very cautious about what we are going through, find ways in which we can help each other, but also know that there are resources available which are more professional, and try and make sure that you go to somebody who is recommended, who is trained, check out what they have done before, check out their credentials, so that you get the most optimal care. Finally, I just want to end with the fact that I've had the most enriching afternoon today. Thanks Sonali and Shraddha for anchoring this, especially the stories from the mums, but also Aruna and Poornima and Jyoti and Raksha, bringing in all their wisdom into this, and actually, showing us that the community of care is what is very, very important for mothers and babies. The community of mental health care, and you need a variety. You need like a like a menu, like somebody said, like and you decide what you want to choose, how much you want to choose, what's good for you, how much it costs, what is accessible. I think we all need to break our barriers. Mental health professionals need to break barriers. Families, we heard, need to break barriers and not normalize everything and say, no, ye to hota hi hai, you have to cope with it. We need to work with partners and husbands. And I think that's so key, because we heard how a husband can be supportive and how husbands can not be supportive and not understand what is going on. So developing those networks for moms, for couples, for babies, because in the middle of all this, we can't forget the baby. And I think it's very important for us to remember the dyad, and also work with mother-infant psychotherapies, which are quite advanced now and can be provided by several people. So on that note, I'm going to stop and wish you all good luck, and let you know that Haplocare and Nimhans and many others who are here have a lot in store in the next few years, and we'll continue to do these activities periodically. I had a lot of fun. I hope you all did too.
Thank you so much, Prabha. I think you summed it up perfectly. And Shraddha, would you like to just show the sponsors list who have kindly sponsored us for this afternoon? I also would like to, before as Shraddha is doing that, I would like to thank everyone. We put this entire thing together in 1 week, and that is because every single one of them that we approached said we would be more than happy to be part of this. And it just reflects how much need there is and how much of a gap there is, and how much everybody is willing to help mothers and fathers and the entire community to make this a reality. Before we go on to the sponsors, I would also like to thank all the speakers that spoke today. I had an absolutely wonderful afternoon. So yeah, thank you very much. I would like to thank the organizing committee as well, Shraddha, myself, Aruna, Jyoti, Poornima, I'm sure I'm forgetting Raksha. I'm sure I'm forgetting people. Mrinmay, yes, Tuhina. We have been chatting nonstop to make this happen at every time of day and night. So yes, thank you so much for making this happen. So now we would like to, if there's somebody from the sponsors who are online and who would like to speak about what they are doing, please do so. And then we can move over to the final words. You should be a panelist now. Yes. Please unmute yourself and go ahead.
Hey, hi, can you hear me?
Yes, yes, we can.
I don't know. I can. You cannot see me. I think it's just the audio. So, hi everyone. I'm Richie. I'm co-founder of Just Be Mama. Me and my friend Neha have co-founded a company called Just Be Mama, which is into maternal health and nutrition. So, first of all, I would say so encouraging stories from every one of you to tell us about how you, like, I don't know where you got the courage to actually step up and talk about it, but hats off to you and Haplocare to actually give you the platform and as well as the help you needed. We also started this company with similar vision to actually help mothers everywhere when we actually face these problems. I am mother of a 7-year-old and my partner is mother of 3 and a newborn now. So we face the same issues that you all face, and we actually were not having right information, right nutrition, and right support at right time. So we thought, let's just bring it together for everyone, every mother like us. So we are a mother's brand. Currently, we have 10 delicious food products for pregnant women as well as new mothers who are lactating. And we have helped around 5,000 mothers pan-India, not only for nutrition, but also getting them the right help in terms of lactation, physiotherapy, or mental health for that matter. So I'm really happy and proud to share this stage with Haplocare team and Nimhans team. Thanks a lot for giving us this opportunity. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Richie. That was you know, a lot of people, including us at Haplocare, have started because we faced the same issues and we were looking around for solution and we couldn't find it. So yeah, well done on bringing something up out of your own lived experience. I think that's the best way that we can help each other. Is there anyone else?
So there are two more brands. So Puberty to Menopause is a public health awareness initiative by Human Biological Institute. So Puberty to Menopause is a platform where you can get authentic advice from leading doctors. You can follow them on Facebook and Instagram for more information. So this is the brand, Puberty to Menopause. Then the third brand is Mama Couture. So Mama Couture is basically a brand which has started a maternity clothes line, and they have everything ranging from clothes for pregnancy till postpartum. So all of them have been really supportive of this cause, and they are giving out gifts for our participants and gift vouchers. So thank you so much. Thank you so much, all of you. So once again, for the last time, I want to say a big thank you to everyone who has attended, all the panelists, all the attendees. It is because of the participants that this has been such a success. Like Sonali said earlier, we did not have a lot of time when we came up with this idea, and you still have made it quite a big success. So I would like to thank you, and I hope this is just a stepping stone to go ahead and spread awareness about maternal mental health issues and come forward and talk about them, because talking about your own difficult life experiences with people who may have gone through the same experiences is a very good step towards getting to peer support. So I hope you can do that. I hope we can help you do that. And I'd also like to say that Haplocare is also stepping up and trying to get into these things. So if you feel like you need more peer support, you need more access to mental health personnel, especially perinatal mental health personnel, or an access to a journal, a audio journal, written journal. These are some of the things that Haplocare is currently coming up with. So please feel free to download the app and enjoy. And yeah, that's it. Thank you so much. Thank you. And